lovely. So many eager eyes, waiting, watching. You're mine for the evening. Let me take control and guide you through something unforgettable. Wow. It was, my microphone was fine until I was on the starting screen. What the fuck? No, it's just the OBS. The OBS glitched. Thanks for letting me know. I had checked the microphone before I put it on the starting screen, and then it fucking glitched. Anyway, hi. Hi. I was talking about fish, and I guess no one got to hear that. Scriptsune, your book reading Kitsune here, though. Welcome in. I hope you guys are having a good start to your week. I was trying to say why I was putting the rarity on fish up. So, the reason why we have a full stream of rare fish increase is because I have put a ton of fish in the pool, and I added a couple more, and I also been sick the past 2 weeks and finally got over that. But so the reason why I didn't stream was because I had essentially there was a high wind of like 50 miles per hour, and then I got a postnasal drip from that, which went into my chest, and I kind of got a sinus infection and had to have antibiotics. And I sounded like a 70-year-old smoker, and then after that I sounded like a chipmunk, so I couldn't stream like that. Thank you for the lurk loan. Hi, welcome in. What do you mean, hello, remember you? You always sound like a chip. Wow. Wow, Lone. I don't always sound like a chipmunk. Don't be mean to me. But yeah, hi, welcome back. How have you been? Are you having a good Monday? You probably, you know. You mean never? Yeah, you are. When you get flustered, you sound like a chip. Wow. I found out someone hit my car in the same spot that the e-biker hit my car. Rip. That sucks. So does that mean that they're going to pay for that? Oof. Hold on, I forgot to open Mix It Up. Let me open that and then just use it for Holy real fast. Not me forgetting to open up Mix It Up after 2 weeks of not streaming. I was here last time when you were telling the cat story. I think, oh yeah. We're gonna be doing 5 chapters of that today too. It's just that I had been sick the past 2 weeks. Let's see. We're gonna go to the channel points so I can activate that for Holy since I forgot to open it. Not commands. Channel points and the headpiece. Play. There we go. The insurance claim is gonna pay for oof. From the e-bike or the other one? Oh. No way you just threw 5 bits at me. There's no way. Thank you for the 5 bits. Jeez. There, I opened that up now. You probably don't even know what that is. That's actually the first time someone actually put bits on this channel. Believe it or not, that's the first donation. Thank you for the first 5 bits. Because this time around there was no extra damage. That's sad. Did you want more? No, I opened that because I just that reminded me that I needed to open that too. That reminded me I had to open up tits. Again, I haven't streamed in 2 weeks because I was sick. I'm sorry. I forgot to open up to the tits. Where am I, man? You know, the program tits. TITS. Twitch Integrated Throwing System. I know, you wish we had actual, you know, bazangagaloos on the screen, but if anyone knows that reference. I'm gonna be like dying if someone actually gets that reference. They can be lewd sometimes. I'm sure they'd prefer seeing bazangaloos over my Fox model, but I don't have you know, a humanoid model. At least not yet. I'm thinking about it. Possibly. If you didn't know, I had originally created this model, did the art for it, and rigged it. And my eyes go crazy because I have a webcam for tracking and not a phone. That, and I also have like a slight astigmatism, so I move my eyes a lot. Not to mention I have glasses, which is bad for tracking. Holy, why does it look like you're thinking something evil? I don't like that. That seems like it's gonna be evil. Yeah, Holy is thinking evil things. Holy is always thinking evil things. Anyway, so what we're gonna end up doing this stream is I'm going to read 5 chapters. We're on book 2 of the New Prophecy series. That is the second Warrior series. Ah! Spooked me. He fucking spooked me. That was loud. Why was that so loud? Hold on. Where is that? Tits. Tits, you need to go down in volume. Okay, I put it down on this screen at least. It's gonna be loud for me, but it's gonna be quieter for you guys. But I turned the tits volume down. Thank you for the 5 bits. You probably didn't even realize that. You can't hear it? Are you sure? Hold on. I'm curious now. I'm curious now. There's no way it's not working, right? I mean, I saw it hit my model. Hold on. Object manager. Bits. Don't you do that to me, Holy. Don't you do that to me, Holy. Don't you dare do that to me, Holy. You can't hear. I'm glad you can't hear it, because it's loud. I'm glad you can't, if that's the case. I bet you it didn't trigger Holies. I bet you it didn't trigger Holies because I was in the object manager. That would have been a pain, actually, for it to go through. That would have been a pain. But oh, I could still throw things. Oh my god. You remember when I had to hydrate and this would go? Oh shit. No, Holy, don't throw stuff at me. Anyway, Holy, thank you for the 50 bits and the 2 bits. Is on, yeah. I was in the object manager, so it kind of doesn't send it when I'm in the object manager. Holy, it's not linked on this account. It's not linked on this account for hydrate. I have to do that myself. You see that? I can beat myself up with water. Okay, I'll drink some water though. You're making me hydrate, I'll do that. There, I took like 7 gulps. I gave you 7 instead of 1 since the 50-bit thing didn't send through. And you want me to pause? Oh, I gotta sit up straight and stretch. So I have to get up and then sit. Okay, hang on. Okay. And now I sit down. Oh, You think those are huge? Believe it or not, I'm not actually trying to like gulp with force. I just have very loud swallowing sounds because I have like a tight esophagus. So the pressure in my throat is actually more than the normal person's. If you did not know that. And I can't actually burp. It's a condition I have. My mind needs to be cleansed. I swear. Lone, go get some soap. Go get a squeegee or something. Get that, push it through your ear, and wash your brain, please. Been like this since your 18th birthday, but dude. Lone's so nasty. I'm so glad I'm the only one that can hear those. It is so loud. Thank you for the 10 bits. Nice amount of followers you got there. Oh, my current ones? Yeah, 67. Oh, I get it. You're doing that younger generation joke. The whole 6-7 thing. Ugh, I can't with that. It's literally just rage bait is what that is. So, for those of you that are new here, usually I am reading chapters for each stream. I'll talk a little bit at the start of stream so that we can kind of chill out, relax, talk to each other, say, oh, how was your day? Kind of deal. And then I will calm down, we'll get through some of the chapters of the book that we're reading. And usually I also give you like a short synopsis of what has happened, especially if you're newer to the series. 10 alpha children, SMH, yeah. Dang children, for real. Your cousins have infected by your brain. So you got affected by the brain rot. What? What? What am I guessing for? Remember that time when you and Holy tried roping me into Gen Alpha? What do you mean? You are young. Oh god. Yeah, I know that they're making emotes for it. It's a whole thing now on Twitch. But you know what? If I say it back to you, the whole thing, the actual definition of it is literal rage bait. So if I say it back to you, then I'm just reverse rage baiting. Husky? Yeah, Husky would. Husky would put you in with the younger generation. So a little bit about the previous chapters and the previous book is that the cats had gone on a journey. This is the second series, The New Prophecy. The cats had gone on a journey. One cat was supposed to be picked from each clan. We have Thunder Clan, River Clan, Shadow Clan, and Wind Clan. One cat per clan was picked, but there is also the brother from River Clan, and also there was the younger cat, which was Fireheart's daughter, that tagged along with Tiger Star's son from Thunder Clan to go on this journey. So it was 6 cats instead of 4. They met a badger named Midnight, which told them the prophecy. And kind of essentially it was, oh, you guys are working together now that you went on this journey to find me. Now they're heading back home to try and get their clans together to leave the forest, because the 5th clan, which is essentially Star Clan, which are the souls of the cats that had passed away, are in the sky, yada yada. They gave the prophecy out, said, hey, if you don't leave the forest, all of the cats from all the clans are going to die. So right now they're heading home so that they can get their clans together to leave the forest. That is the whole goal right now. However, they have been stopped and they are currently at a mountain tribe. I am going to add the names of the tribe cats as well once I am able to. It is actually not at the beginning of the synopsis of all the names in the book. So I gave myself a note to add the cave cats. Gen Z is 1996 through 2012. Dude, I'm 1996. Thank you for the lurk loan. I'm sure you're gonna go do some crazy shenanigans while I read the story. You have fun. And if you are kind of completely new to the series, in the original first series, we had Firestar, the current leader, was actually called Rusty. He was called a kitty pet. And kitty pets in this series are essentially just cat pets from humans. And they don't even call humans humans. They call humans two legs. The cave cats and also the cats that are in the city also call humans a different term compared to two legs. They call them upwalkers, which is kind of funny to actually call them as upwalkers. But so you had the kitty pet Rusty, and you had the ThunderClan cat leader called Blue Star. Blue Star had originally invited Rusty, the kitty pet, into the clan because he was not fixed yet, and because Blue Star had a prophecy of fire saving the clan. Rusty was an orange-colored cat, which coat kind of similar to the look of flames when hit by sunlight. And so, you go into the journey of the first series with Rusty turning into Firepaw, which is his apprentice name. And then once he becomes a warrior, he turned to Fireheart. He eventually became the leader called Firestar after Blue Star died from the dog attack. The dog attack was orchestrated by the main antagonist of the story in the entire first series, which was Tiger Claw, which had been turned to Tiger Star after he had been exiled from the clan, and then he had overtaken Shadow Clan because Shadow Clan was weakened from sickness and needed a new leader. There's also a lot of grief and everything with his best friend, which is Gray Stripe, and how he lost the love of his life. And there was a bit about the medicine cat that Fireheart had originally fell in love with. Eventually, in the later end of the series, for the first series, Firestar had to go against a rogue clan that was brought in from the city that Tiger Star had dragged in and was far, far worse than Tiger Star ever could be. That threatened to kill everyone and essentially make the entire forest diseased and out of prey. And you could kind of see what would happen if he actually became leader with the pile of bones that he had. And I don't want to spoil what happened to Tiger Claw, because it's kind of a very sudden thing if you decide to read the first series. But that is essentially what happened. And so in this second series, it's not really covering one cat like it did in the first. It's covering all the cats that go on this journey. They're all technically the main character. So you have Firestar's daughter that goes on the journey. He has two daughters. One of them stays in the clan, and they're kind of mentally linked together. Then you have Tiger Claw's son. Then you have a Shadow Clan apprentice, which was actually originally a rogue cat's offspring. Then you have the River Clan cats, are the brother and sister that were born from Graystripe's offspring. So like Graystripe and the River Clan cat that had gotten together made these two offspring. So his offspring, Firestar's offspring, Tiger Claw's offspring, a random apprentice from Shadow Clan, and then you have, well, you also have Tiger Claw's offspring daughter from Shadow Clan, because she kind of went there to follow her father, and even after he had died, she stayed in Shadow Clan rather than returning to Thunder Clan. So there is a lot of similarity in who is picked. It was all cats that either had two ties, as in like two different clans, or at least two different walks of life. So originally, Fireheart was two different walks of life of Kitty Pet and Warrior. So his offspring are from him and derived from that, two walks of life. And they have to be under his influence and shadow from how prominent he is. And then you have Tiger Claw's offspring, which are in both Shadow Clan and Thunder Clan. So those two are combining together with their connection. That's the two different walks of life there. Not to mention that Tiger Claw is a traitor. So they feel the strife in that. And then you have the River Clan children, the offspring of Graystripe, which was Fireheart's best friend. He had that offspring with a River Clan cat, and that's why they're there. Because you are supposed to have, according to what was said in the first series, the mother's clan gets to claim the kits. So those kits technically are born of Thunder Clan and River Clan, but were ended up in River Clan. So there's two different walks of life there. And then when it comes to the Shadow Clan apprentice, it was from a rogue cat originally, which we think was another one of Tiger Claw's children. At least that's what they think it is. That's what they believe it to be. At least that is what is hinted in the 1.5 books that we are currently in the second series. So there are two walks of life for every cat that has been chosen. And it makes sense because they were chosen to bring all the clans into one. Alright. So we're going to be reading chapter 11 through 15. And I might take a little bit longer breaks than usual. Usually I make about 2-minute break. Also, have a nice eat, Polly. I will have 2-minute breaks between every 2 chapters usually, but I might take like maybe 10 minutes because I am still at the end half from being sick. And I can still feel the need to like cough and everything. So I'm just gonna give myself a little bit longer than 2 minutes when I do take my short breaks after each double chapter. Otherwise, I don't know if my voice will last the entire stream. Anyway, I hope I kind of gave you enough details if you're new, so that you can kind of catch up to the point that we're currently at. It has been 2 weeks of a pause since I was sick, so I hope that does as well. After the ad break ends, I'm gonna go ahead and start chapter 11. I just noticed that it popped up. So, if you guys are in the ad break, I am going to wait until that ends. Which is 25 seconds from now. Got coffee and water. And if you don't have the ad breaks, then all better to you. Oh, hi! Welcome in. Can't imagine who that is. I was just about to get reading. So, I hope you enjoy story time, because that's what I do. I essentially just do ASMR with stories. I don't do whispering. I do like page turns and stuff. I have the physical book here. Welcome in, though. They're from my Roblox game that I play. They saw that I have a Twitch on my account. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna check that out. I told you, it might not be for you though. ASMR is not for everyone. Feel free to chat with me while I say the story though, because I can take pauses, because I'm just capable of switching back and forth. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Chapter 11. Moonlight shone into the cave, turning the waterfall into a sheet of rippling silver. Gotta eat dinner? Alright. Have a nice dinner. Stormfur felt as though the day had lasted for a moon. And now even the shallow, sandy dips in the cave floor were looking as comfortable as his nest among the reeds back home. Stoneteller had returned and shown the forest cat to the sleeping hollows at the side of the main cave, their curved sides lined with a sparse layer of moss and feather. You may rest here, he meowed. Stay many days, for as long as you want. You are all welcome. Once he had gone, Gramaclaw beckoned with his tail for all his friends to gather around. We need to talk, he mewed. How long do you think we should stay here? Crowpaw's tail lashed from side to side. I don't know how you could ask that, he rasped. I thought we were on a mission. What about taking Midnight's news to the forest? Crowpaw's right, Stormfur meowed, stifling a brief stab of annoyance that he had to agree with the WindClan apprentice. Oh, I forgot that it's WindClan, not ShadowClan. I'm sorry. The apprentice is from WindClan. I got the two mixed up. I was explaining the cats earlier, and I switched around ShadowClan and WindClan by accident. I think we should leave right away. Me too, mewed Tawny Pelt. Leaf Bear's coming. And there'll be snow up here. But what about your shoulder? Gramaclaw reminded her, since their plunge over the waterfall. She'd been limping on her 3 legs, and a trickle of dried blood ran down her shoulder, seeping between her claws. We've got to stay until the rat bite is better. We'd all get on faster after that. Tawny Pelt's neck fur bristled. I knocked it again. That's all. If you think I'm holding you back, she spat, then just come out and say so. Gramaclaw didn't mean that. Feathertail brushed her side comforted. I hate that word. It's a long one. I'm gonna try it again though. Feathertail brushed her side comfortingly against Tawny Pelt's flank, taking care to avoid the injury. That's more than just a knock. Looks like you've done so much damage compared to Gosh dang it, I'm already messing up. Usually it's like past halfway that I start messing up on my words. Hi, welcome in. I hope you enjoy stream. It looks like you've done as much damage as before, and it won't heal if you don't rest. Squirrelpaw looked thoughtful. Sounded as if the tribe cats don't think we should leave at all. What are they all so frightened of? Are we going to meet more danger farther on? The other cats looked uneasily at one another. Stormfur admitted to himself that the thought had crossed his mind. Oh. Thank you for the 5 bits. Oh my gosh, I just keep getting smacked in the face. Part of him wanted to stay safely in the cave for as long as they could. If the alternative was unknown terror among the rocks and precipices of the mountains, it'll be risky wherever we leave, Grandpa pointed out. Okay, I agree with Tawny Pelt, but let's get Stone Teller to fix her shoulder and then go. That's all very well, Squirrelpaw broke in, her green eyes sparkling in the moonlight. But we're all assuming we can leave whenever we want. What do you mean? They wouldn't dare stop us, Crowpaw explained. Squirrelpaw snorted. I bet you, my next piece of fresh kill, that they would. Look over there. She flicked her ears toward the cave entrance. The cave guard was seated on either side, making no secret of the fact that they were keeping an eye on the newcomers. Perhaps they're guarding the cave from enemies outside, Feathertail meowed. Could always try leaving, Crowpaw suggested, the tip of his gray-black tail twitching. Then we'd see what happened. No. Bramaclaw's voice was firm. It'd be mouse-brained to leave right now. We're all tired out, and we need to sleep. Tomorrow we'll see how Tawny Pelt's shoulder is, and figure out when we can leave. There was a murmur of agreement. Not even Crowpaw wanted more trouble just then. And it was not long before the forest cats were settling into their sleeping hollows, huddled together against the curious stares that darted at them from all around the cave. As Stormfur prodded his bedding into place, he heard a paw step behind him, and turned to see one of the mountain cats padding across the cave towards him. Warm recognition swept through his pelt as he recognized Brooke by her soft tabby fur and lithe walk. She carried a wad of feathers in her jaws. Dropping them in the sleeping hollow Stormfur had chosen, she dipped her head to him. Stone Teller sent me to make sure you're comfortable. Thanks, Stormfur replied. Did Brooke mean that Stone Teller had sent her to all the cats, or him in particular? She showed no signs of going to fetch more feathers for the rest of them. True, Stormfur still felt battered from the fall into the pool, but so did all of his friends. He was not their leader either. Oh, hi! I will take a quick break to say hi to everyone. Welcome in! Welcome in. Welcome in. Hi, Raiders from Nixie. Did I say that right? Hang on, let me try and give a shout out. Let's see if I will do it correctly. I'm hoping. There it goes. Oh, thank you, yes. I try my best to pronounce it.
Quit your sussiness.
Well, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Get ready to get comfy. Yes. We're currently reading Warriors. The second series, which is The New Prophecy. Welcome in, welcome in. I am Scriptsune, the book reading kitsune.
Why are you so sus? Quit your sussiness. Yes, as the little baka.
Thank you for the follow. All three of you.
Why are you so sus?
Oh gosh, I keep
Quit your
thank
sussiness.
you.
Yes, as the little baka.
Thank you guys for coming in. I hope you're ready to
Why
listen
are
to
you
the
so
story.
sus?
I actually just started,
Quit
so
your
perfect
sussiness.
timing.
Yes, as the little baka.
I'm reading 5 chapters, so I'm reading chapter 11 through 15.
Why are you so sus?
And
Quit your
then I'm
sussiness.
gonna give
Yes,
my
as the
voice a
little
rest and we'll come back to it another stream after that. But I have just started reading the chapters, so
Why are you
I will
so
be here
sus?
for a while.
Quit your sussiness. Yes, as the little baka.
Yes, nonstop sus. You like that? It's so cute. It's so cute. The GIF is actually, I don't know if you know the anime, but it's Kami-sama Kiss, and that's like his young form when he gets transformed into a young because he's sick. How did you follow 2 times? Yeah, how did you follow twice? What? Thank you for coming in though. Hold on. Let me put a paw up. Hold on. I got this. Let me put it up. Like leg uppy. Hi.
Why are you so sus? Quit your sussiness.
So
yes, as the little baka.
I can actually talk while also going back and forth from the book, so you are free to talk to me while I am reading. Shake's paw, yes, Shake's paw. Hi, nice to meet you. You like the opening song? Yeah, Kami-sama Kiss is great. And if you've watched that, I know you've watched Oran High School Host Club. And probably watched Inuyasha as well. You like the paw? That's one of your favorites? I hear that they're gonna redo it. I really want to see like the after. I wanted another season. I didn't want it to end after that. It would have been so great to have more twin shenanigans. Iron Reaver Soul Stealer, yeah, Inuyasha. Not to mention that Inuyasha is such a freaking oblivious guy. Why would he go for the soulless chick? Come on now. There's like a hot blood one right there. You like my model? Thank you. I actually did the art for it and then I actually rigged it myself. And hold on. I'm gonna do something here. You can actually see my fluff is all individual pieces. I kind of just went out of my way for it. It also has breathing. Hold on, let me hold still so you can see the breathing. I know I'm insane for how many layers of fur I put in. The floof, he can fix her AO. He can fix her. Yeah. The same thing actually is with the ears. The ears do it too. The ears actually have individual fluffs. It's great. I love anime. I could talk about anime all day long, though. I could talk about anime all day long. I have like... I've seen over 2,000 anime shows, and I kind of stopped counting after I got out of college, so... I have no clue how many I've watched. And I'm not even counting the amount of times I have rewatched shows. I'm not counting that. Yes, over 2,000. And I mean, I've seen, like, I haven't completed One Piece, but I did watch up to 800 episodes of it. Also, I can finish about 2 seasons, so I can watch 2 entire anime seasons in a day. So you can see how easily I got to 2,000. Especially since when I was in college, I was just drawing art while watching. You didn't even know that was much. Oh my gosh. Have you seen all the older animes like Yu Yu Hakusho or, you know, or Adult Swim ones like Bleach? Adult Swim ones like Bleach. That's kind of where I started, was with Adult Swim. Also, I started with manga in high school too. Do you count that 15? No, I count it as one. I'm not counting rewatches, and I have rewatched things a couple of times. Also, your gateway anime start, yeah. Adult Swim. I mean, when I was younger, I guess this would have been the true gateway one. It would have been Yu-Gi-Oh! Did you know that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually far more dark than the anime portrayed? The original Yu-Gi-Oh! I heard it was so much darker. Never actually read it though. Only actually watched it. Season 0 Yu-Gi-Oh! Was wild, yeah. I'm kind of curious, like, if anyone's actually read it. Using websites that had index. Oh yeah, I remember those free websites too. They've been cracking down on those websites in like the past 2 years though. A lot of them have gotten taken out. Then again, you can always go to Crunchyroll, I guess. Soul Trapped in Shadow Realm. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Moment of silence for all those poor websites for those of us with low income. Alright, moment of silence over. Refuse to support Crunchyroll due to them raising prices again. Yeah, it's crazy because like they're literally the main website for all things anime, like especially when it comes to the dub. Then again, I guess Netflix is also coming out with its own originals. I also had read quite a few webtoons before they got turned into animations. Ranma 1/2? Dude, I read Ranma 1/2 before watching it. I also read 1/2 Prince. High Dive is starting to become a bigger name now. Yeah, it is, but it's not quite as large as Crunchyroll still. Sakura Wars. What about Card Capture Sakura? That reminds me of that one. Or Shugo Chara. Shugo Chara was a big one too. If you remember the little, like, eggs that turned into characters. Shugo Chara. I do like webtoon. I actually read the very first webtoon. The very first one when it just came out and was a thing. It had like nothing else. And it was about this person with a mental disorder. And like he thought he was magical, but he was actually doing a whole bunch of crimes. And he was like an adult, but like he had like a child's mind. They removed that webtoon, and I can't remember what it's called, but it was the first one that was on webtoons. I wish I could remember what the name was. Oh, not to mention the one that they actually removed because it was horrendous. If you guys know what Stalker X Stalker is, or Killer, I can't freaking remember what the exact name is, but I binge read it and it was horrible. Don't ask me why I binge read it. I don't freaking know. Or is it Killing Stalking? I think it was. Yeah. Interesting concept. Yeah, it was the first webtoon. The one with the magic and all that. And it was like almost like a shoujo manga almost kind of concept, but like later on you kind of realize that he's just mental. He's just mental and like all this is actually crimes. And yeah. The main character just it slowly gets to the point where like you realize that these are actually crimes and he's actually not performing magic. But yeah. Yeah, he was Delulu. And that was the first webtoon, and it's crazy. But there's so many webtoons that are Delulu that get kicked off of webtoons. I cast Fireball, throws Molotov. Yes, that's exactly what it was like. But you didn't realize it wasn't magic until later on. You didn't realize it wasn't magic until you got deeper into the story. Zombies. Delusional about zombies. Ayo. Sounds like Zom 100. I had a cough for a second. Real Flight Club stuff. Yeah. It's freaking crazy. Anyway, again, welcome in, you guys. I hope you enjoy your time here. Go ahead and stick around if you want, but if you need to raid and run, that is perfectly fine. I do not expect you to stay here. It is free will. I just started chapter 11. We're going to be going all the way to chapter 15. And it takes me about roughly 2 hours to go through 5 chapters. So you guys, if you stick around, you can stick around for the 2 hours. You could be stuck with me for 2 hours. You know you like fluffy foxes, right? School Live is what it's called. First episode, regular slice of life until the end. Oh my god, regular slice of life. Like DDLC. Turned horror. And D&D craft in the meantime. Yeah, you have fun with that. Thank you for sticking around. I'm gonna go ahead and jump back into the story. If you have any questions about the story or anything else, feel free. And feel free to chat me up as well. Okay, I'm going to backtrack about a paragraph so that we can kind of jump back into it kind of from where the raid started. Thanks, Stormfur replied. Did Brooke mean that Stoneteller had sent her to all the cats, or to him in particular? She showed no signs of going to fetch more feathers for the rest of them. True, Stormfur still felt battered from the fall into the pool, but so did all of his friends. He was not their leader either, who would get special treatment. I hope you'll be happy here, Brooke went on hesitantly. This must be very different from what you're used to. Do you have caves for sleeping in your forest? No. We sleep in nests of reeds and bushes. RiverClan's camp, as my clan is on an island. A pang of homesickness stabbed Stormfur as he spoke, and he wondered if he would ever again lie curled up in the warrior's den, listening to the soft sighing of the wind in the reeds. If midnight was right, and all the clans had to leave the forest, he might never find another home that was so peaceful. Brooke's eyes shone in the moonlight. "Are you a cave guard, or—" She broke off, scuffling her paws in embarrassment. "No, of course not. If you have no caves, there'll be no cave guards. Do you guard your camp, or are you a prey hunter?" "Our clans don't work like that," Stormfur told her. "We all guard and hunt and patrol." "That must be hard," Brooke meowed. "We are born to our duties, so we know exactly what we have to do." "I am a prey hunter," she added. "If Stoneteller allows it, perhaps you would like to hunt prey with me tomorrow?" Stormfur swallowed. It sounded as if Brooke assumed that the forest cats would be staying for a while. He was not sure either that he liked the idea of asking Stoneteller's permission for everything. They would respect the tribe's leader while they stayed in his territory, but he had no right to give them orders. All the same, it would be fun to hunt with Brooke. He wondered whether to ask her outright if they were prisoners, but before he could speak, the pretty young tabby dipped her head in farewell. "You're tired. I'll leave you alone now," she mewed. "Hi, welcome in." First chatter. First time chatter. "Sleep well. I hope we will hunt together soon." Stormfur said goodbye to her and watched her retreat across the cave before he settled into the feathers. All around him were the soft murmurs of his sleeping friends. But although his muscles ached and his head spun with exhaustion, it was some time before sleep claimed him as well. The sound of paw steps padding past his sleeping hollow woke Stormfur the next morning. He opened his eyes to see sunlight spilling through the cascade of water into the cave. It reminded him of how they should be following the rising sun back to the forest, and he scrambled out of his hollow, shaking off a feather that clung to his pelt. Brambleclaw was already up, standing a few tail lengths away, and watching a patrol of cave guards leaving through the main entrance. The quiet sense of purpose reminded Stormfur of the patrols at home. He padded over to Brambleclaw. He twitched his whiskers in greeting. Tawny Pelt's shoulder started bleeding in the night. "I think the muscles have torn open again." The ThunderClan warrior meowed. "I told her to get some more sleep, but it means we'll have to stay here for a day or two at least." Stormfur glanced back to where he could see the smooth curve of Tawny Pelt's tortoiseshell fur as she lay curled in the sleeping hollow. Feathertail was anxiously bending over her, examining her injured shoulder, while Crowpaw looked on. Squirrelpaw was still sleeping. The sight of his sister so close to the WindClan apprentice did nothing to improve Stormfur's temper. "Well, if we must, we must," he muttered. "But sooner or later, we'll have to find out why these tribe cats have been quite so welcoming. We know there's something they're not telling us." Seems that there's an ad, so I'm going to go ahead and pause for a couple of seconds. I have my other account up and it's showing me the ad. So just in case anyone has it, I'm just gonna wait for that timer to tick down. It's just a few more. Welcome back from the ad break if you had it. I know it was a short one. True, Brammerclaw was calm, his amber eyes meeting Stormfur's in a level stare. But we'll learn more if we cooperate with them, to begin with anyway. Hi. Yeah, of course, no problem. You could be right, Stormfur grunted. Movement at the back of the cave caught his eye, and he spotted Stoneteller emerging from one of the tunnels and heading towards them. Crowpaw and Feathertail spotted him too. Crowpaw prodded Squirrelpaw to wake her, and all three cats came bounding over to Stormfur and Brambleclaw. Tawnypelt raised her head as Feathertail moved away. Are we leaving? She meowed. Stormfur could hear the pain grating in her voice. I can go on if I have to. Feathertail glanced back at her. No, we're not going anywhere yet. Try to get some sleep. Are you going to ask Stoneteller to let us out of here? Crowpaw hissed to Brambleclaw. If he thinks he can keep us prisoner, I'll claw his ears off. No, you won't, Brambleclaw said swiftly. You know very well Tawnypelt needs to rest until that rat bite is better. Besides, the last thing we want to do is offend any of these cats. Let me do the talking. Crowpaw shot the tabby warrior a glare, but said nothing more. I'm sure we're not prisoners. Stormfur spoke more confidently than he felt, trying to convince himself that he had imagined the eerie interest the tribe cats took in him. Why should we be? We've done no harm. Maybe we have something they want, Squirrelpaw suggested. That idea was so close to what Stormfur himself had been thinking that he found nothing to say in reply. Besides, Stoneteller was approaching. There was no more chance to talk amongst themselves. Good morning, the healer meowed. Have you slept well? Very well, thank you, Brambleclaw replied. But Tawnypelt's shoulder is badly hurt, so we'd like to stay for a day or two until she's better, if that's all right with you. Good. Stoneteller's head swiveled towards Stormfur as he spoke, and the glow in his green eyes made Stormfur even more apprehensive. I'll look at your friend's shoulder and find some herbs to heal her. The rest of us would like to go hunting, Brambleclaw continued. We need to stretch our legs, and we'd like to catch our own prey. We can't go on feeding 6 of us while we sit around doing nothing. Stoneteller's ears pricked forwards, and his eyes narrowed. Stormfur got the idea he was not pleased by Brambleclaw's request. However, the healer scarcely hesitated. Of course, he meowed. We'll be glad for your help. Some prey hunters are about to leave, so you can go with them. As he spoke, Stormfur saw several of the tribe cats gathering beside the cave entrance. Brooke was among them, and Mist, the prey hunter they had met the day before. Stoneteller led the clan cats over to them. Our new friends want to go hunting, he announced. Take them with you and teach them the way we hunt. Welcome back. The order given, he padded away again. Stormfur glanced after him, slightly stung that he thought clan warriors would need to be taught how to hunt. Then he realized that Brooke was beside him again. "Greetings," she mewed. "There are so many of us. We better split into 2 groups. Will you hunt with me?" "Yes, I'd like that," Stormfur replied, slightly surprised at how pleased he felt that Brooke had remembered the invitation of the previous night. Quickly, the tribe cats divided into 2 groups. One of them, the Mist in the lead, took Crowpaw and Feathertail, while Stormfur joined Brooke's group, along with Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw. Tawnypet watched them go with a brief flash of fear in her eyes. But as Stormfur left the cave, he spotted the kit mother start padding over to her with a piece of fresh kill. "She'll be fine," Brambleclaw murmured. "With any luck, she'll sleep until we get back. It doesn't look like the tribe cats mean her any harm." Seeing the friendliness with which Star spoke to Tawnypet, Stormfur realized that the tabby warrior was right. He stepped cautiously along the ledge behind the Star. "Oh, hi! Thank you for the follow. Welcome in." Gonna retake that sentence. He stepped cautiously along the ledge behind the waterfall, shivering as the spray soaked into his fur, and out onto the rocks beside the pool. As he shook off most of the moisture, he noticed that Crag and the number of other cats were already waiting, their fur streaked with fresh mud. They were strong cats with massive shoulders, unlike the lithe prey hunters. Stormfur guessed they were all cave guards. Catching Brambleclaw's eye, he muttered, "What are they doing here?" Brooke heard his low-voiced comment. "We take cave guards with us on our hunts," she explained. "We need them to watch for eagles and—" She broke off with a nervous glance at Stormfur, who wondered what she had been about to say. Still, he felt relieved at her explanation. The thought had crossed his mind that the cave guards might be there to keep an eye on him and his friends, and make sure that they did not try to escape. Of course, they would never leave Tawnypet, but Stoneteller didn't know that. When Brooke had explained to Crag that the visitors were joining them for the hunt, the cave guards joined the 2 groups. One of them, with Crowpaw and Feathertail, began to climb the rocks where Stormfur and the others had fallen the day before, while Brooke led Stormfur's group further down into the valley. The ground here was hard earth, where a few scant clumps of grass poked up among broken rocks. A few bushes straggled here and there beneath the steep rock walls. Though the rain had stopped, the boulders gleamed wet in the morning light. The prospects for prey looked meager to Stormfur's eyes, and he wondered how the tribe cats had managed to find the fresh kill they had shared so generous. He tasted the air and picked up only the faintest traces of prey. Brooke led her group along one side of the valley, in the shadow of the bushes. Now Stormfur could see why they streaked their pelts with mud. It made them blend into the rock, so that when they were still, it was hard to see them at all. In contrast, Squirrelpaw's dark ginger fur looked like a splash of blood. Though Stormfur's gray pelt and Brambleclaw's dark tabby were inconspicuous enough, all the tribe cats moved silently. Stormfur had to concentrate to make sure his paw steps were just as quiet. Before long, he saw Squirrelpaw halt, her ears flicking up in excitement. "Look! A mouse!" she whispered. Stormfur spotted it too, nibbling on grass seed a few tail lengths ahead. Squirrelpaw dropped into the hunter's crouch, but instantly Brooke swung her tail in front of her, barring her way. Her jaws formed the word, wait. Stormfur expected Squirrelpaw to make an indignant protest, but the ThunderClan apprentice obviously figured that if she didn't, she would frighten the prey. She glared at Brooke instead, but the young she-cat didn't notice. Her eyes were fixed on the mouse. A shadow flicked over Stormfur. A brief heartbeat later, a falcon swooped down from the sky and gripped the mouse in its powerful talons. At the same moment, Brooke launched herself forward. She sprang onto the bird's back, sinking her claws into its shoulders. Its wings beat furiously. For a couple of heartbeats, it lifted Brooke off the ground, only to fall back under her weight. A second prey hunter ran up and helped Brooke finish the falcon off. Its wings stopped beating, and it lay limp on the rocky ground. And we get the mouse, too, Crag pointed out to Stormfur, swiping his tongue around his jaws. Stormfur's eyes stretched wide with admiration at Brooke's hunting skills. What a warrior she would make if she'd been forest-born. Briefly, he imagined her in RiverClan, teaching them this new way of hunting, but he banished the picture almost at once. Brooke belonged here in the mountains, and within the next day or two, he'd be apart from her. He felt a strange stab of regret at the thought and was surprised. How could he already feel attached to a cat he barely knew? Squirrelpaw was staring in disbelief at the dead falcon, all her indignation forgotten. That was brilliant, she meowed. I want to try it. To Brambleclaw she added, could we hunt like this at home, do you think? There aren't as many hawks, Brambleclaw pointed out. WindClan might try, I suppose. Crowpaw said he'd seen eagles on the moors. Stormfur noticed that instead of scraping earth over her prey until she was ready to collect it, Brooke hit the mouse and the falcon by dragging them both into the crevice in the rock. Then she set off again at the head of her group. This time she led them up the wall of the valley, bounding over some loose rocks and then along the ledge. Stormfur couldn't think what prey she hoped to find out here, but by now he was content to wait and see, aware that these mountain cats had tricks he and his friends had never heard of. They came to a flattened heap of twigs and dried grass, blocking the ledge. There was a strong reek of stale prey. Brooke sprang nimbly over it, and the rest of the cats followed. This is a hawk's nest, she explained. In the freed water season, you can sometimes find hawk chicks. Freed water? Squirrelpaw echoed. I expect she means New Leaf, Brambleclaw replied in a low voice. When the water's freed from ice, I guess. That's when there would be chicks in the nest. Very good they are, too, Crag added, coming up from behind. And it means there are fewer hawks to grow up and prey on us like this one, he added, with a massive leap into the air. Stormfur jerked his head up with a gasp. difference between the two clans since there's quite a few new people here. But I just had to, use the restroom real fast because I had drank a lot of water at the beginning. I'm gonna blame Holy for that. He used hydrate on me. So, the difference between the clans and the tribe that you are hearing in the story is just a difference of words. And also a little bit of role differences. So a 2B, T-O-B-E, 2B, is an apprentice. So they're apprenticing to be a cave guard or a hunter. They're born into their role. So depending on who they're born to, I'm going to assume that's who they are apprenticed under. But in the clan, they just say apprentice. I hope that clears up any confusion. I don't take very long breaks, but I'm still healing up from being sick for like 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to like not have to talk and talk and talk and talk. Just give myself like a minute. Rest my voice. Hop back into it. Get well soon? Yes, I hope so too. I hope I get well soon too. I had to take antibiotics. And that sucked. I still have like, I had that postnasal drip. And it turned into a sinus infection. And then it inflamed my esophagus. So no matter if I drink water or if I eat something, I have like that slight burning feeling. The only reason I'm actually able to stream today and not like continue resting is because I was sounding like a 70-year-old smoker and I was sounding like a chipmunk for like a week. And I finally got over that and I'm like on the far end of getting better. Anyway, why so specific? because it is specific. It's very specific. So I have a condition originally where I actually can't physically burp. So having pain on top of that on my esophagus is just insane to me. And that's why it's so specific. You probably never heard of anyone that could not actually physically burp before. I can't. Not on command, not normally. Yeah. It gets painful when I have hiccups. It's crazy. Anyway. Gonna jump back into the story. Chapter 12. Stormfur crouched on a jutting spur of rock and looked down into the valley a couple of tail lengths below. The sun was going down on the 4th day since he and his friend had come to the cave of tribe cats. Although the thought of that was happening in the forest hung over their heads like a swollen rain cloud, they had been unable to move on. Tawny Pelt's shoulder was healing again, thanks to the herb Stoneteller had given her. But it was still too stiff for her to walk. Meanwhile, Stormfur was beginning to think he had gotten the hang of the tribe cat's way of hunting. It depended much more on keeping still and silent than on stalking prey, for among the rocks there's not much. Oh gosh, I said that twice. There is not much cover as in the forest or even by the river where he used to fish. His ears pricked as he caught the faint sound of fluttering wings. And he peered down into the shadows. A bird had landed just below him and was pecking at the ground, bunching his muscles. Stormfur sprang. His claws met feathers, and the bird's frantic alarm call was cut off as he killed it with one blow of his paw. Stormfur stood up, his prey in his jaws, and saw the dim shape of one of the mud-covered cave guards approaching. The fresh kill in his mouth masked the scent, and he did not recognize Crag until the cat spoke. "Good catch. You make a great prey hunter." Stormfur nodded his thanks, but Crag's words made him slightly anxious. Did he really mean, "You will make a good prey hunter"? Or had he meant to say, "You would"? The cave guard sometimes seemed to assume that Stormfur intended to stay with the tribe for good, but there was no opportunity to ask him what he meant. Brooke and the rest of the prey hunters had just appeared. The whole patrol set off to the back of the cave, collecting the prey they had caught earlier on their way. When they reached the pool, Stormfur set down his load for a brief rest before climbing the rocks and negotiating the ledge behind the waterfall. I wonder why they say negotiating here. Why would you say negotiate with a ledge? That's a very odd way to put that they were stumbling to stay on the side. I'm sorry, I just noticed that and I just had to comment. Odd choice of words. The sun had set and the peak was outlined against a sky the color of blood. Stormfur shivered, trying not to picture blood being shed back home in the forest. However, happy he felt to be hunting with the tribe. They had to move on as soon as they could. Brooke padded up beside him, her eyes shining in the evening light. "A good day's hunting," she purred. "You have learned our ways well, Stormfur." A warm glow spread through him from his ears to tail tip, even more than before. He knew how much he would miss her when he had to leave. In these last few days, she had become a friend. Even her strange accent had begun to sound familiar. He guessed she felt the same, at least. She always asked him to go hunting with her, while the rest of the forest cats, if they hunted at all, went with other groups. Stormfur wondered what Brooke really thought of him. Would she miss him when he had to go? He opened his jaws and picked up the strong, rank scent. It was nothing like he had ever smelled before. A bit like a cat's, but harsher and tinged with carrion. He felt his neck fur rise with a premonition of danger. What's that? Brooke's eyes stretched wide with fear, but she did not reply. Already the rest of the hunting patrol were gathering up their prey, hurrying for the safety of the cave. Crag bounded over and almost pushed Stormfur up the rocks. Glancing up, Stormfur thought he spotted a shadowy movement near the top of the waterfall. But he wasn't sure, and he had to concentrate on keeping his footing on the slick, wet stones of the ledge, struggling to see around the half-grown falcon in his jaws. No cat tried to explain the reason for the sudden panic, and Stormfur had learned by now that there would be no point in asking. In the cave, he carried his prey to the fresh kill pile and went to find his friends. Spotting them near their sleeping hollows, he headed towards them, dodging around a couple of tubies who were training with one of the cave guards. They were using unfamiliar fighting moves. Stormfur's pelt itched to join in and learn, and teach the tribe cats a few River Clan tricks too. Maybe later, he promised himself. The other clan cats were all gathered around Tawny Pelt, who was on her paws, twisting her head to examine her shoulder. Feathertail's tongue rasped busily over her fur. It's much better, she meowed. There's no swelling at all, and the wound's healing cleanly. How does it feel, Tawny Pelt? The Shadow Clan warrior flexed the injured shoulder, then dropped into the hunter's crouch and crept a few tail lengths along the cave floor. Stone Tyler certainly knows his stuff, she reported. I don't know the herbs he used, but they're just as good as burdock root. The shoulder's a bit stiff, that's all, she added, springing up again. It'll be fine if I keep exercising it. I just wish I could get my claws on that rat. When it's time we were leaving, Bramaclaw mewed. I'll have a word with Stoneteller, and we'll set off first thing in the morrow. Gonna take a sip of water. Oh, ad popped up right as I'm taking water. I guess it's a good thing. I'll wait till the ad's over and then continue. I hope you guys are enjoying this story so far. And remember, fish does exist, so if you want to fish, very easy, exclamation mark, fish. The chances of the fish currently are higher for the rare ones. And all the fish in the pool consist of characters from the series so far. I am adding all the characters I come across in the books I read. It's gonna have a very large pool of characters eventually, if you think about it that way. Welcome back if you were stuck in the ads. Right. Crowpaw's eyes flashed. And they better not try to keep us here. They won't. Feathertail pressed her muzzle against his side. I'm sure you're worrying about nothing. Tribe cats have been nothing but kind to us ever since we got here. They'll probably be glad to see the back of us, Squirrelpaw agreed cheerfully. They're bound to be short of prey when Leaf Bear comes. It's nearly here, mewed Feathertail. The rocks were white with frost this morning. Right, Squirrelpaw waved her tail. So they won't want us sitting here and stuffing ourselves. Stormfur could see from the look in Bramaclaw that he gave his clanmate that he was still worried. But he said nothing. Instead, it was Crowpaw who spoke, noticing for the first time that Stormfur had padded up to join them. There you are, he exclaimed, his lip curling unpleasantly. Decided to join us, have you? Getting bored with your new friends in the tribe? Don't, Feathertail murmured, licking him with her tail. Stung, Stormfur stalked up to the young Windclan apprentice. If he's got something to say, let him say it. Only that you spend all your time with them. Maybe you'd like to stay with them for good. After all, things are going to be pretty tough when getting back to the forest. Don't be stupid, Stormfur retorted, turning his back on Crowpaw. He saw that all the others were looking at him gravely. as if they half agreed with what the Windpan cat said. "Come on," Stormfur went on, alarmed. "What have I done? Gone out hunting a couple of times, that's all. You said yourself, Brambleclaw, that we should catch our own prey while we're here. What makes you think that I care any less about you and what happens to the forest?" "No cat thinks that," Feathertail mewed soothingly. "He does." Stormfur twitched his ears at Crowpaw. "This isn't about the dreams, is it? Just because I wasn't chosen by StarClan. You haven't had more dreams, have you? And not told me?" He unsheathed his claws, hating that they scraped against stone rather than soft riverside earth or a tangle of reeds. Crowpaw, he could understand. The apprentice had always been difficult, and he would fight with StarClan themselves. But that the others might think him any less than loyal. Even his own sister. It was almost as bad as the time when Tigerstar had merged two clans together. And he and Feathertail had nearly been killed for being half clan. Feathertail at least should remember and understand. Stormfur stifled a flash of guilt as he remembered how comfortable he felt among the tribe. But he was determined to remain loyal to RiverClan. "No, we haven't had any more dreams," Brambleclaw replied. "Settle down, Stormfur, and Crowpaw, stop annoying him. We have problems enough without that." "It's that waterfall," Tawnypout meowed unexpectedly. "The noise of it, day and night, is driving me mad. StarClan could be sending us every sign under the sun, but we'd never hear them. I'll be glad when we're out in the open again and well away from this place." There was a soft snarl in Crowpaw's voice. "We need to get back to the forest and defend it like warriors should. Stormfur can come or not." "Shut up, Mousebrain," Squirrelpaw snapped. "Stormfur's just as loyal as you." Stormfur blinked gratefully at her. "Of course I'm coming with you," he meowed. "Then let's eat and get a good night's sleep," Brambleclaw growled. "It might be our last chance for a while." Stormfur looked up and flinched, surprised to see that while they had been talking, several of the tribe cats had gathered and were watching them with serious faces. Crag stepped forwards. "Why do you talk about leaving?" he meowed. "You'll never make it through the mountains in the season of frozen water. Stay with us until the sun returns." "We can't do that," Squirrelpaw exclaimed. "There's trouble back home. We told you that when we arrived." "We're grateful for the offer," Brambleclaw meowed, more diplomatically, brushing his tail across Squirrelpaw's mouth to silence her. "But we have to go." Tribe cats glanced at one another, their neck fur starting to bristle. Suddenly, they looked threatening. Several of the powerful cave guards moved to stand between them and the entrance. And 2 or 3 of the kit mothers began anxiously herding their kits toward the nursery tunnel. The meaning was clear. Stormfur knew that if they tried to leave now, they'd have to fight on their paws. Spotting Brooke near the back of the group, he thrust a path past a cave guard to stand in front of her. "What's going on?" he demanded. "Why are you treating us like prisoners?" Brooke would not meet his eyes. "Please," she murmured. Are you so unhappy here that staying is such a terrible thing? Unhappy isn't the point. We're on a mission. You don't have any choice. Stormfur whirled around to question Crag, but the cave guard avoided his gaze, and he knew their friendship was being brushed aside out of loyalty to the tribe, for reasons he could not begin to guess. He had believed that the tribe cats like for himself, and pain at their betrayal tore him like an eagle's talons. Fox-dung to this, Crowpaw muttered, trying to force his way past the cave guards. Crag raised his paw, and another cave guard thrust Crowpaw back with a furious hiss. The Wind Clan apprentice's bristling fur and lashing tail showed that he was ready to attack both of them at once. Wait, Feathertail murmured, pushing between Crowpaw and the guards. Let's find out what all this means. It means trouble, Crowpaw snarled. No cat is going to stop me from leaving. He shouldered his way past Feathertail and leaped on Crag, bowling the huge cave guard over. Crag's hind paws battered his belly. But before the fight could go any further, Brambleclaw fastened his teeth into Crowpaw's scruff and dragged him off. The apprentice spun around to face him, eyes blazing. Get off of me, he snarled. Then stop being so mouse-brained, Brambleclaw hissed, just as furious. The guards could turn you to crow food. We have to find out what they want. Stormfur hated to admit defeat, but if they fought their way out tonight, even supposing they could, they'd have to face a cold night on an unfamiliar mountainside. And looking around at the lean, well-muscled cave guards, barely out of breath from the tussle with Crowpaw, Stormfur knew they could not hope to survive a fight without injury. And that would make their journey harder than ever. Why didn't Midnight foresee this? He wondered desperately. Or had she foreseen it and kept it hidden from them? He saw that Stone Teller had emerged from his tunnel. Now perhaps we'll get some answers, he thought. The cave guard stepped back to allow the leader to come closer to the clan cats. Brambleclaw padded forwards to face him. I think there must be some misunderstanding, he began. Stormfur could see the efforts to stay calm. We have to leave tomorrow. Your tribe doesn't seem to want to let us go. We're grateful for your help and shelter, but... He broke off. Stone Teller wasn't listening. His eyes glimmered like pebbles on a stream bed as he gazed around the group of cats, raising his voice. He meowed. I have received a sign from the tribe of Endless Hunting. It is time for a telling. A telling? What's that? Squirrelpaw mewed. Maybe it's like a gathering, Stormfur murmured. But there aren't any other tribes to meet with. Then maybe it's something to do with the tribe of Endless Hunting. That's a good thing. You're supposed to be sleepy. You're supposed to be able to calm down, relax, and then get some sleep. But yeah, have a good rest. Bye. But we weren't able to play again. Well, I'm gonna play again later, but you know, that's after stream. I get to mine them. Yearn for the mines. Not Minecraft, by the way. It's a Roblox game. In spite of his fears, they would not be allowed to leave the cave. Stormfur couldn't help feeling curious about discovering more of the tribe's strange beliefs. See ya. Thanks for dropping in. The cave guards gathered more closely around the clan cats and began to herd them towards the tunnel from where Stoneteller had just emerged. Back off! Tawnypelt snapped at one of them. Where are you taking us? Stormfur wondered that too, until now he had assumed that the second tunnel just led to Stoneteller's private den. To the Cave of Pointed Stones, Stoneteller replied. There are many things that will be made clear to you. What if we don't want to go? Without waiting for a reply, Crowpaw launched himself at the nearest cave guard. A cat almost twice his size. The cave guard casually swatted him with a huge paw, sending him half-stunned to the floor of the cave. Feathertail spat at the guard and lashed out a paw, claws extended. Stormfur felt his neck fur stand on end. But before a real fight could break out, Bramberclaw hissed. No! If we're going to get an explanation, we'll listen to it. Then we'll decide what to do. Do you hear me, Crowpaw? The apprentice, scrambling to his paws with his fur torn and his tail fluffed out, glared at him but said nothing. Get a move on, growled one of the guards. Stormfur stumbled, almost losing his balance, as the nearest guard butted him towards the tunnel. It took all his self-control to move on quietly. Then he realized that Brooke was beside him. There was something like a relief in her eyes as she mewed. Don't worry. Everything will become clear soon. I'm not worried. Stormfur's voice was cold. He had thought they were friends, and she had betrayed him. You can't keep us here forever. He was almost pleased when she winced. Please, she whispered. You don't understand. It's for the sake of the tribe. Stormfur curled his lip and turned away. He padded after Tawnypelt into the passage, with a couple of cave guards close behind. In the darkness, he heard Stoneteller's voice raised in a soft chant. When the tribe of endless hunting calls, we come to listen. More voices answered him from behind Stormfur. Not just the cave guards, but more of the tribe cats pressing into the tunnel. And rock and pool and air and light on water. Through fall of prey and cry of kits, through scrape of claw and beat of blood. We hear you. The voices echoed through the shadows. Stormfur saw moonlight filtering in from somewhere ahead, and Tawnypelt's pricked ears outlined in gray. He stepped out into another cave, and for a moment, all his fears and frustrations vanished, and he stood with his mouth dropped open in awe. This cave was much smaller than the one they had just left. A jagged rift high in the roof let in a shaft of moonlight that bathed the floor in a watery gray light. Stormfur was standing amid a forest of pointed stones. Many more than in the main cave.
With your sussiness.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Some of them grew up from the floor, while the others hung down above his head. A few of them joined together as if they were propping up the roof. Pale yellow rippled with tiny streams of water, trickling down to pool on the hard stone floor. Earlier that day, rain had fallen through the hole to leave a pattern of puddles around Stormfur's paws. The roar of the waterfall, so loud in the outer cave, had sunk to a whisper, faint enough that you could hear drops of water falling from the roof. All the clan cats were silent. The same awe which Stormfur felt, shining in their eyes. The place reminded Stormfur of Mother Mouth, as well as being in a moonlit cave. There was the same sense of being in the presence of something greater than himself. But this was not the home of StarClan, but the tribe of endless hunting. And would they even care about cats from territories far away? A shiver went through him in his mind. He formed a prayer to StarClan. Guard us and guide us, even here. The cave guards nudged the clan cats farther into the cave, while Stone Teller stalked ahead of them until he stood in the center of the forest of stones. There he turned to face the rest of the cats. "You stand in the cave of pointed stones," he meowed. His voice was high and expressionless. "Moonrise is here, caught in rock and in water, as it always has been and always will be. It is time for a telling. We call on the tribe of endless hunting to show us their will." "Show us your will," the other tribe cats responded in chorus. Almost all of them had pushed into the cave behind the clan cats. The air was growing warm with their bodies and damp, misty breath. Moving like shadow, Stone Teller padded to and fro, peering into the puddles. His eyes shone in the moonlight, and the mud on his fur looked more sinister and stone-like than ever. Brooke had told Stormfur that her leader had been given 9 lives by the tribe of endless hunting, just as the clan leaders were given 9 lives by StarClan. But he had found it hard to believe until now. Outlined in watery light and surrounded by strange points of rock, Stone Teller looked in possession of more power than all the forest cats put together. At last, the leader of the tribe paused beside one of the biggest pools and murmured, "We greet you, tribe of endless hunting, and we thank you for your mercy in saving us last from Sharptooth." "We thank you," the tribe cats murmured in response. Stormfur tensed, exchanging glances with his friends. He saw his own confusion reflected in their eyes. What did Stone Teller mean? What was Sharptooth? And why did the tribe need to be saved from it? "Why is..." Squirrelpaw began, only to be reduced to silence by a hiss from a nearby cave guard. Stone Teller went on. "Tribe of endless hunting, we thank you for sending the promised cat." "We thank you," the tribe cats responded again, their voices growing stronger. Raising his head, Stone Teller commanded, "Let him stand forth." Before Stormfur could protest, 2 of the burly cave guards thrust him forward. Taken by surprise, he slid sideways into a puddle, shattering the moonlight into glittering splinters. A gasp of shock rose from the tribe, and he heard a cat mutter, "An evil omen!" Fighting to stay calm, he shook the water off his paws and walked forwards, until he stood beside Stoneteller in the center of pointed stones. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Stoneteller raised a paw for silence. His eyes glowed in the moonlight with unconcealed triumph as he murmured, "Do not question. This is your fate." Glancing around, Stormfur saw that all the tribe cats were gazing at him with the same expectation in their eyes and a kind of joy, as if he were almost the most powerful sight they had ever seen. "It is your fate," they repeated. He had been right all along. The tribe had singled him out as special, and now he was going to find out why. "The time has come," Stoneteller intoned solemnly. "The promised cat is here, and at last we will be saved from Sharptooth." "I don't understand," Stormfur burst out. "I've never even heard of Sharptooth." As if his words had broken a spell, his friends pressed forward to stand beside him, only to be shoved back again by the cave guards. Squirrelpaw spat, and both Crowpaw and Tawnypelt flexed their claws on the cold stone. But Brambleclaw held them back with a word of warning. The cave guards clearly did not want a fight either. They kept their claws sheathed, only shouldering the forest cats into a tight group. "Sharptooth is a huge cat," Stoneteller began. His voice hushed with fear. "He lives in the mountains and makes the tribe his prey. For many seasons now, he has been picking us off one by one." I hate that feeling of like almost about to sneeze. And it went away. Yeah. "He looks like a lion," Crag added, and asked, "Do you know of lions?" "We have legends of Lion Clan," Stormfur replied, still wondering what Sharptooth could possibly have to do with him. "Lions are known for their strength and wisdom, and they have golden mane like the sun's warm rays." "Sharptooth has no mane," Stoneteller meowed. "Perhaps he lost it because he is so evil. He is the enemy of our tribe." His voice was bleak, his eyes shining cold with memories. He feared that he would not rest till every cat of the tribe had been killed. But then the tribe of Endless Hunting sent us a promised cat. Stormfur's head whipped around as he heard Brooke's voice. She had drawn close to him and was gazing at him, her eyes filled with admiration. "Stormfur, you are the chosen one. You'll save us all. I know you will." "How can I?" The slow anger had begun to burn inside Stormfur, replacing his bewilderment. "What do you expect me to do?" "Before the last full moon, the tribe of Endless Hunting sent a prophecy to us," Stoneteller explained. "They said that a silver cat would save us from Sharptooth. We knew as soon as we saw you by the pool that you must be the cat promised to us." "But I can't be," Stormfur protested. "I come from a forest long way away, and I have never seen Sharptooth." "That's true," Brambleclaw padded forward to stand beside Stormfur. "We're sorry that Sharptooth is threatening you, but our clans are at home are in danger too. Maybe even worse danger," Feathertail added anxiously. "We have to go." Stoneteller flicked his ears. Without a word, The cave guards surrounded the forest cats and began thrusting them back towards the cave entrance, all except Stormford, who was surrounded by a separate patrol. Feathertail desperately tried to break through to her brother.
Why are you so sus?
Thank you for the follow
With your
and welcome
sussiness.
in.
Yes, the little baka.
But the nearest cave guard bowled her over with a swipe of his paw. Take your paws off her, you piece of fox dung! Crowpaw spat, hurling himself at the cave guard and raking his claws over the tribe's ear. The two of them rolled on the ground in a flurry of claws until Bramaclaw hauled Crowpaw away. Not now, he commanded. It won't help any cat for you to get ripped to shreds. We should fight, snarled Crowpaw. I'd rather die than be trapped here. Just say the word, Tawnypelt hissed at her brother. I'll tear their pelts off and feed them to the eagles. StarClan, help us! Feathertail cried out as she was forced back to the tunnel entrance. Show us you haven't abandoned us. Do not fear, Stoneteller meowed reassuringly. This is the will of the tribe of endless hunting. Stormford felt as though he were falling into a deep, dark water as he saw his friend shove away from him, back to the main cave. When he tried to follow, Crag and another cave guard moved to block his way. Over there, Crag meowed, pointing with his tail to the other end of the cave of pointed stones. Looks like an ad has popped up, so I'm going to take 40 seconds for the ad and drink some water. And then we'll go ahead and continue. So many people popping in today. I hope you're all enjoying the story. I'm actually reading it from actual book copy, so gotta love being able to actually page turn. Alright, welcome back from the ads if you got stuck in them. We'll find a sleeping hollow ready for you. As Stormfur faced him with burning eyes, Crag added awkwardly, It won't be so bad. You'll kill Sharptooth for us. The tribe of endless hunting says so. And then you can leave if you still want to. Kill Sharptooth, Stormfur exclaimed, remembering the rank scent and the shadowy shape he had seen at the top of the waterfall. That must have been Sharptooth, prowling close to the cave entrance. No wonder Brooke and the rest of the patrol had been so frightened. How can I do that if all you have failed? This is a mouse-brained idea. You're all mad. No. That was Stoneteller again, padding up to stand at Stormfur's shoulder. You must have faith in the tribe of endless hunting. The sign was clear, and you came just as they promised. My faith is in StarClan, Stormfur retorted, trying to hide how scared he felt inside. Had the spirits of his warrior ancestors really abandoned him? Go to your sleeping hollow, Stoneteller meowed. We will bring you fresh kill. Your coming has been long awaited, and you need to have no fear that we will ill-treat you. No, but you will keep me prisoner, Stormfur thought desperately. He padded to the back of the cave to find the sleeping hollow Crag had indicated, and found it warmly lined with dried grass and feathers. A couple of tail lengths away was another scoop in the rock. also lined with bedding, where he guessed Stoneteller slept. Stormfur lapped water from the nearest pool and then laid down with his head on his paws, trying to figure out how to escape. But it was hard to think. With the pain of betrayal still throbbing through him, he had really believed that the tribe of cats liked him, without any of the questions that shadowed his RiverClan friendships about his parentage or his loyalty. Instead, they only wanted him to fulfill their prophecy. A few moments later, Brooke appeared, a rabbit in her jaws, and set it down timidly in front of him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Is it really so bad to stay with the tribe? I want to be your friend, Stormfur, if you'll let me." She hesitated and then added, "I'll stay with you now, if you like. It is our way to groom each other's fur, especially in times of hardship. We call it the giving of close comfort." She must mean sharing tongues, Stormfur realized. Not long before, he would have been delighted at the thought of sharing tongues with Brooke. Now that the idea outraged him. Did she really think he would want to be close to her when she had betrayed him and lied to him? "Stormfur?" Brooke's eyes shone with compassion, but their glow was like a fire searing Stormfur to the heart. He turned his head away without saying anything. He heard a faint gasp of pain from Brooke, and then her paw steps vanishing down the tunnel. When she had gone, he turned the rabbit over with one paw. He had been hungry at the end of the day's hunting, but now he thought of eating had made him feel sick. Still, he forced himself to choke down the fresh kill, because he knew that whatever happened next, he would need all of his strength. He curled up in the sleeping hollow and lay staring down the tunnel where his friends had disappeared. Crag and the other cave guard were on duty at the entrance, and Stormfur watched. Stoneteller emerged from the shadows and slipped between the guards. Back to the main cave, between them and Stormfur, lay pools of shimmering water, lit by the cold moonlight that reminded Stormfur of the river. But he missed its endless murmuring and the glittering and splash of moving water. As he closed his eyes and tried to sleep, he reflected sadly that he need never come on this journey at all. He hadn't been chosen by StarClan, had never been summoned by a dream, but right now he would have given anything for the whole adventure to have been a dream. If only he could wake up in the morning to find himself back in RiverClan. That was the end of chapter 12. Chapter 13. Leafpaw shifted uneasily in a pool of moonlight and listened to the soft sighing of the wind in the oaks at Four Trees. She and Cinderpelt were on their way to meet the other medicine cats at Mother Mouth, and already the half-moon was high in the sky. "They're late," Cinderpelt meowed. "We're wasting moonlight." Little Cloud, the Shadow Clan medicine cat, settled himself more comfortably in a hollow in the grass. "They'll be along soon." Cinderpelt's tail tip twitched. "Need all the time we have at Moonstone," especially tonight. We have to find out what we should do about the two legs. Leafpaw tried to curb her own impatience with the RiverClan medicine cats. We should have met them long before now. Perhaps sharing tongues with StarClan wasn't so important to them, when their own territory hadn't been invaded by two-legged monsters. Everything was quiet now. The two-legged monsters slept at night, but Leafpaw knew they were still there, squatting on the scarred ground, among the trees they hadn't destroyed yet. The silence in the forest was unnatural, without the small sounds of prey that always seemed louder at night. Her belly rumbled at the thought of prey. Cinderpelt had given her traveling herbs to quell her appetite before they set out, but they didn't help her hunger when she couldn't remember the last time she had been full fed. All the clan cats were suffering. Lack of food had begun to weaken them so that they couldn't run as fast and catch prey there was. With Leaf Bear looming ever closer, crisping the leaves and sending them spiraling to the ground in the chill breeze, Leafpaw couldn't see what help StarClan might give. To her embarrassment, her belly rumbled again, loud enough for the others to hear. Little Cloud shot her a sympathetic glance. Blackstar has sent warriors to fetch rats and crow food from Carrion Place, he told Cinderpelt. His eyes darkened. We haven't had any sickness yet, but it's only a matter of time. I hope you remember the herbs and berries I gave you when you were ill, Cinderpelt meowed. I've been collecting them. I know I will need them soon. And tell your clan not to touch any crow food, Cinderpelt advised. Fresh rats might be okay, but not carrion. Little Cloud sighed. I've tried, but what can I do when Blackstar gives the orders? Most of our cats are too hungry to care what they're eating. Just then, Leafpaw caught sight of Mudfur, the RiverClan medicine cat, and his apprentice, Mothwing, climbing the slope from the river. She leaped to her paws, delighted to see her friend again. She could not suppress a pang of envy that Mothwing looked so well fed. Her long golden fur sleek with good health. At last, Cinderpelt growled as the two cats came up. I was beginning to think a fish must have jumped out of the river and swallowed you. Well, we're here now. Mudfur hardly paused for greetings, but led the way around the top of the hollow towards the WindClan border. Cinderpelt and Little Cloud followed, while Leafpaw and Mothwing brought up the rear, side by side. I got into trouble about that fishing lesson, Leafpaw whispered. I knew I should not have eaten your prey. Your leader's got no right, Mothwing meowed indignantly. You're medicine cats. Still, we shouldn't have done it, Leafpaw replied. Medicine cats have to stick to the warrior code, as much as any cat. Mothwing just snorted. I think I'm getting on really well, she mewed for a moment. Mudfur taught me the herbs to use for green cough and black cough, and the best way to get thorns out of pads. He said he'd never seen a cat do it so neatly. That's great, Leafpaw purred. She didn't mind her friend boasting because she knew how insecure Mothwing felt. Because she was the daughter of a rogue. Many of her own clan thought that she would never have been allowed to train as a medicine cat. Mothwing was desperate to prove them wrong. As they approached the WindClan border, Leafpaw felt a twinge of nervousness. It was not long since the confrontation with WindClan, and she knew that their warriors would still be hostile. They seemed determined to keep their starvation a secret, even though it was horribly obvious from their scrawny frames and dull eyes. Would they be desperate enough to attack medicine cats if they found them on their territory? She said nothing. Firestar would be furious if she gossiped with Mothwing about that fateful encounter. None of the medicine cats paused as they crossed the border. They hurried on, the pace set by Cinderpelt's limping gait. Coming to the top of the gentle rise, Leafpaw found herself looking down on the worst scene yet of two-leg devastation. The scar on WindClan's territory was much longer and wider now than when she and Sorreltail had first seen it. A couple of two-leg monsters squatted there, moonlight glinting off their shiny pelts. If a hill had got in their way, they just gorged a path through it, leaving earth piled high on either side. Were they going to devour the whole moor? Shuddering, Leafpaw bounded on behind her mentor. Not far from the WindClan camp, Barkface, the WindClan medicine cat, emerged from behind a gorse bush. Even though Leafpaw had been prepared for him to look hungry, it was a shock to see how thin he was. Barely more than a walking skeleton, covered by his ragged pelt. Cinderpelt went up and touched noses with him sympathetically. "StarClan be with you, Barkface," she mewed. "And with all my clan," Barkface heaved a great sigh. "Hi, Wampus." You scrolled to the bottom of your list and you couldn't find me. See why? What do you mean? What do you mean you couldn't find me? I don't know what you mean. Wow. Sometimes I think StarClan wants every one of us to join them. Not even a kit left to keep the warrior code alive. Perhaps they will show us what to do when we share dreams at Moonstone. Cinderpelt tried to encourage him. Don't worry about it? Wow, now I'm gonna worry about it just because he said not to worry about it. It's getting worse for WindClan. Mothwing's amber eyes were wide as she murmured the words to Leafpaw. They've been stealing fish from the river again, you know. Hawkfrost caught a couple of them and chased them off. They have to find prey somewhere. Leafpaw knew that what the WindClan warriors were doing was wrong, but she couldn't blame them. Not when the river was full of fish, enough to feed all the clans. Fleetingly, she realized that Firestar was right. The two lakes were destroying the forest. But in doing so, they were also destroying the invisible boundaries between the clans as well. Maybe the cats would survive only by joining together after all. Mothwing paused to scent the air. Hang on. I can smell rabbit. At least I think it's rabbit. It smells funny somehow. Yes, look over there. She gestured with her tail at a dip in the moorland where a small stream chattered over stones. Lying beside it was a small, brown, furred body. It's dead, Leafpaw pointed out. Mothwing shrugged. So it's crow food. I imagine WindClan can't afford to be too fussy. Hey, Barkface, she called. Look what I found. She bounded down the slope towards the rabbit. Stop, Barkface commanded. Don't touch it. Mothwing skidded to a halt beside the limp bundle of fur, looked back up the slope. What's the matter? Barkface patted down to join her, followed by Leafpaw and the other medicine cats. Warily, he approached the rabbit and sniffed it. Leafpaw sniffed it too, and recognized the harsh tang she had picked up when she and Sorrowtail had visited WindClan territory. Her stomach churned, and she swallowed to stop herself from gagging. Whatever had happened to this rabbit, it wasn't fit for food. Yes, I thought so, Barkface murmured, his eyes clouding. There's that scent. Again. Facing the other cats, he explained quietly. Two Lakes have done something bad to the rabbits in the territory. They all die. And if Cat eats them, they die too. We have lost half our elders, and nearly all of our apprentices. There was a horrified silence. Compassion lanced through Leafpaw. Tallstar had said nothing of this when he confronted Firestar. The proud WindClan leader would rather let other clans think his cats could not catch prey in their territory than that their own fresh kill was killing them, one by one. And he couldn't help them? Mudfur asked. Do you think I didn't try? Barkface sounded desperate. I gave them yarrow to make them sick, just as we do for deathberries. 2 of the strongest pulled through, but most of them died. His claws tore up the grass in front of him. His eyes burned with grief and frustration. What hope is there for us when even our own prey can kill us? Cinderpelt limped up to him and pressed her muzzle against his side. Let's go on, she murmured. But ask StarClan for guidance about this, as well as everything else. Shouldn't we bury the rabbit? Leafpaw suggested, as the cats began to climb the slope again, in case some other cat finds it. Barkface shook his head. There's no point. No WindClan cat would touch it now. His lips stretched into a wry snarl. We know better than to trust fresh kill from inside our own borders. Head bowed, tail drooping, he plodded on grass across the moor toward High Stones. Leafpaw blinked in the silver light from the moonstone, letting it soothe her until she felt like a fish sinking into deep water. Here in the cavern, far below High Stones, it is easy to believe that StarClan ruled everything, and the troubles of the world above were far away to matter. I hope you enjoy the fish, Flumpus, because it does have an increased chance right now. And I wish you luck on catching something good. Yes, fish. Those are actually all the characters that of the first series, and I'm adding more. I gotta catch up and add all the characters that we have read so far. But medicine cats came to the Moonstone only so that they could learn the wisdom of StarClan and take it back to help their clans. In these dark days, they needed that wisdom more than ever. The other medicine cats were lying with her around the stone. Mothwing was next to her. The River Clan cat's eyes were wide with wonder as she gazed at the shimmering crystal surface, trying to focus her thoughts. Leafpaw pushed away the questions that nagged her about Mothwing and her aggressive brother, Hawkfrost. Mothwing had a right to be here. StarClan themselves had approved her, with Mothwing left at the entrance to Mudfur's den. before she had finally been accepted as a medicine cat apprentice. With a quick plea to StarClan for guidance, Leafpaw closed her eyes and pressed her nose against the stone. Cold instantly seized her like a claw. The hard surface of the cave floor vanished, and she felt as though she were floating in darkness. Squirrelpaw, Squirrelpaw, can you hear me? She called silently. She was desperate to make sure that her sister was still alive and safe. And more than that, if the chosen cats had discovered the answer to the trouble that had come upon the forest, then seeking out Squirrelpaw might give her some hope that she could share with the others. But tonight, something seemed to be blocking her thoughts. The silence was broken by the sound of rushing water, loud as thunder. And then the darkness shifted to show her a waterfall, crashing endlessly down into a pool below, where Leafpaw could properly understand what she was seeing. Clouds swirled over it. Out of them came a terrible snarling, and she caught a glimpse of sharp fangs. She sensed the presence of warrior ancestors and reached out for the comforting presence of StarClan. But she caught only a flickering vision of lean, prowling cats, their fur streaked with mud and blood. Their eyes glared with desperation, as if they stared at some terrible sight that was hidden from Leafpaw. She thought she cried out to them, but they did not answer, and she was not even sure that they were aware of her. The wind howled around her, sweeping all the visions away, and Leafpaw woke up with a jolt. She blinked in confusion, staring around the cavern that was dark now except for the faint glitter of silver pelt. In the dim light, she could just make out a cat crouched beside her. A beautiful tortoiseshell with a white chest and white paws. The sweet scent of herbs clung about her fur. For a heartbeat, Leafpaw mistook the cat for Sorreltail, until she remembered that her friend was back in the ThunderClan camp. And where were Mothwing and the medicine cats? Leafpaw realized that except for herself and the strange tortoiseshell, the cavern was empty. The tortoiseshell cat opened her eyes and turned to blink at Leafpaw. "Greetings," she mewed softly. "Do not be anxious for your sister or your clan. A time of great trouble has come, but the clans are strong and have the courage to meet it." Leafpaw froze. She had woken up in another dream. Her eyes widened as she realized who the tortoiseshell cat must be. She had heard many stories of the medicine cat who had befriended her father when he first came to ThunderClan, and guided him in dreams on his path to becoming leader. Are you Spotted Leaf?" she meowed. The tortoiseshell cat bowed her head. "I am. I see that Firestar has told you about me." "Yes." Leafpaw stared curiously at the she-cat. "He told me how much you helped him." "I loved him as well as any cat," Spotted Leaf purred. "Maybe even more than I should have done as a medicine cat. If StarClan had not chosen me to walk their path, things might have been different." Her eyes narrowed with affection. "I never had kids of my own, Leafpaw, but I cannot say how happy it makes me that Firestar's daughter will be following the path of a medicine cat I know that StarClan has great things in store for you. Leafpaw swallowed. May I ask you something? She meowed hesitantly. Of course. Can you see Squirrelpaw? Is she all right? There was a long pause. I cannot see her, Spotted Leaf replied at last. But I know where she is. She is safe and on her way home to you. Why can't you see her if you know where she is? Leafpaw challenged. Spotted Leaf's gaze shone with gentleness and compassion. Squirrelpaw is in the paws of different warrior ancestors now. What do you mean? Leafpaw remembered the fearsome, blood-streaked cats she had sensed when she tried to make contact with Squirrelpaw. In her dream, her eyes flew wide and she sprang to her paws. Whose warrior ancestors are these? There can't be more than one StarClan. Spotted Leaf laughed softly. The world is wide, dear young one. There are other cats who are guided by other spirits. There is always more to learn. Leafpaw's head whirled. She stammered. I thought, StarClan does not control the wind or the rain, do they? Spotted Leaf prompted gently. They do not command the sun to rise or the moon to wax and wane. Do not fear, little one, she went on. From now on, wherever you walk, I will walk with you. Her voice began to fade. I am back. Hopefully you guys didn't miss me too much. Alright, let's go ahead and get on with the next chapter. Chapter 14. Feathertail gazed back helplessly at the tunnel entrance as the cave guards thrust her out of the tunnel and back into the main cave. She felt unseen claws tearing into her heart with every step she took away from her brother. What did Stoneteller mean? That Stormfur was the promised cat who would save the tribe from Sharptooth. True, her brother was strong and a brave warrior, more skilled at fighting than any of the other cats on this journey. But if Sharptooth was as huge and terrible as the tribe said, what could even the bravest warrior do? Please, she meowed to one of the cave guards, a huge mud-colored tabby whose name was Scree, beneath winter sky. You can't keep Stormfur here. He belongs with us. There was sympathy in the tribe cat's eyes, but he still shook his head. No, he is the cat sent here by the tribe of Endless Hunting. They told us a silver cat would come. But don't try to argue with them, Crowpaw growled into Feathertail's ear. There's no point. If we have to fight to get Stormfur out, then that's what we'll do. Feathertail looked at the wind-clad cat's bristling fur and the fierce courage in his eyes. You can't, she meowed sorrowfully. There are too many of them. I don't see why the tribe is so worried about Sharptooth. Crowpaw's voice was scornful. We haven't even seen a whisker of him since we arrived, so what's the big deal? Be thankful you haven't seen him, Scree meowed. Crowpaw bared his teeth, but this time he didn't spring at the guard, just turned away and touched his nose to Feathertail's muzzle. He would have fought the whole Star Clan for her. Feathertail knew that, but he had to see that this time of fighting would be no good. The cave guards herded the clan cat across the cave until they reached their sleeping hollows. What's going on? Bramaclaw mewed in surprise. Aren't you throwing us out? Into the night. The mud-colored guard sounded indignant. We're not cruel. It's cold out there and dangerous. You can eat and rest here and leave in the morning. With Stormfur? Tawny Pelt challenged. Scree shook his head. No, I am sorry. The cave guards left them, except for Scree and another who remained on watch a few tail lengths away. A couple of tubies trotted over with fresh kill in their jaws. Isn't that great? The first of them mewed excitedly, dropping the prey he carried. No more Sharptooth! Shut up, Beetlebrain, growled his friend, giving him a sharp prod in the flank. You know Crag told us not to talk to them. They retreated quickly, glancing around to make sure no cat spotted them disobeying orders. I'm not eating that, Crowpaw spat, glaring at the small pile of fresh kill. I don't want anything from the tribe. Great Star Clan! Tawnypet let out a noisy sigh. How's that going to help, you stupid furball? You need your strength twice as much now, to save the forest and to save Stormfur. Crowpaw muttered something inaudible, but Nathan made no other protest as he dragged a falcon out of the heap. Well? Squirrelpaw demanded, when they had divided the rest of the fresh kill and were crouched close together to eat. We're not putting up with this, are we? What are we going to do? There's not very much we can do, Bramaclaw pointed out. There aren't enough of us to fight the cave guards. We're not going to leave him. Squirrelpaw's green eyes were wide with disbelief. Brahmaclaw paused. Feathertail could see an agony and decision in his expression. She began to shiver. Since they were left in the forest, she had come to respect the young warrior's skills as an unelected leader of their group. If he could not see what to do, then what hope was there for Stormfur? We should never come into these mountains, growled Tawny Pelt. It's 100 times worse than Two-Leg Place. Midnight mentioned cats in a tribe, so she must have known about Sharptooth. Why did she send us this way? It must have been a trick all along, Crowpaw hissed. I knew we should never have trusted that badger. But why would she trick us? Brahmaclaw objected. StarClan sent us to her, and she warned us about the Two-Legs destroying the forest. If we can't trust her, then nothing makes sense. Feathertail wanted to agree with him, but she suddenly remembered something Purdy had said when they were discussing which way to go at the edge of the wood. Purdy tried to tell us not to come through the mountains, she meowed out loud, and Midnight wouldn't let him speak. You're right. They both knew. She looked around and saw her alarm reflected in the faces of her friends. Midnight said we would need courage, Brahmaclaw reminded her after a heavy pause. She said our path was laid out for us, so even if she knew about the tribe and Sharptooth, there must be a way we can get through this. It makes me think that we must still be following the right path. So you say, Crowpaw sneered. I don't suppose it matters to a ThunderClan warrior if a cat from RiverClan gets left behind. And what does it matter to WindClan? Squirrelpaw fired up in defense of her clanmate. I'd have thought you'd be delighted if Feathertail's brother weren't here to keep an eye on you. Crowpaw sprang to his paws, hissing a challenge. Squirrelpaw's green eyes blazed. Horrified, Feathertail forced herself to get up and shoulder Crowpaw away. Stop it, she cried. Can't you see you're making it worse? Feathertail's right, meowed Tawny Pelt. What clan we come from doesn't matter here. 4 of us are half-clan anyway. Have you ever thought StarClan might have chosen us because of that? If we quarrel among ourselves, then we'll lose everything. Squirrelpaw's gaze seared into Crowpaw for a moment longer, before she stepped back and began to tear mouthfuls off a rabbit. Crowpaw looked into Feathertail's eyes, then ducked his head and muttered, Sorry. So maybe we can discuss what to do without ripping another's fur off. Tawny Pelt meowed tartly. When no cat answered, she went on. Don't forget that StarClan didn't choose Stormfur in the first place. He's only here because he wouldn't let Feathertail come on this mission alone. She paused. Her eyes grew troubled as she added, What if the tribe cats are right, and he is the promised cat who's going to save them from Sharptooth? That mouse brain! Crowpaw exclaimed. Feathertail was not so sure. Tawny Pelt had put words to the fear that she had also felt squirming inside her ever since Stoneteller had first told them about the prophecy. Sure, Stormfur's fur wasn't what she would call silver. It was darker than that, more like gray stripes. But it had come into the world of the tribe cats, just as their warrior ancestors had promised. Does that mean Her voice shook, and she had to start again. Does that mean we're going to leave him here? No, it doesn't. Grandma Claus sounded determined. These are not our warrior ancestors. StarClan has nothing to do with this tribe. But we can't get him out by fighting, so we'll have to do it another way. In the morning, when they tell us to leave, we'll go without trouble, and we'll come sneak back and rescue Stormfur. The cats were silent for a moment, glancing at one another as if they were weighing the idea. Feathertail began to feel the first faint strings of hope. Then she noticed that the cave guards were watching them suspiciously. Had they overheard? She flicked her ears and the clan cats, following their gaze, huddled more closely together. One second, I'm actually going to check all the names and like the descriptions of the pelts because now I'm curious about something. Let's see. I need to go to... Well, it's not Leafpaw. They did say that Leafpaw was meant for great things in the previous chapter. So I thought maybe she's the Silver Cat, but I went to look at the descriptions and she's not. But if they're pointing it out right now that he doesn't have silver fur, I wonder. Either he has to be in moonlight for it to turn silver. Kind of similar to how Blue Star had her fur shine in their first series, have it silver. Or they mean a different cat entirely. I guess we'll find out. Crowpaw spoke softly. That's easy to say. He sounded doubtful, but he wasn't sneering anymore. We'd still have to get into the inner cave, and the whole place is crawling with cave guards. We could wait until it's dark, Tawny Pelt suggested. And the noise of the waterfall will hide our paw steps. Squirrelpaw added optimistically. Crowpaw still looked uncertain. I'm not sure. Have you noticed the tribe cats are so used to it that they can hear a kit squeak at the other end of the cave? Feathertail knew he was right. She looked around, wondering if the darkness or the crashing torrent would help them at all. Moonlight rippled into the cave through the sheet of thundering water, but shadows fell thickly around the walls. Perhaps it would be possible, but however hard it seemed, they had to try. Stormfur was her brother. I'm willing to give it a try, she announced. You can leave me behind if you want. Well, I for one, Crowpaw began. Don't try to stop me, Feathertail interrupted. I know we have to get StarClan's message to the clans before they're destroyed along with the forest. But they don't need all of us. I can stay here. You said I was going to try and stop you, Crowpaw demanded indignantly, his neck fur bristling. I was going to say I'll help, but if you don't want me... Don't be mouse-brained. Feathertail gave his ear a quick lick. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Of course I want you with me. I don't think we should split up. Grandma Claw's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. It's all of us or none. We came on this journey together and we'll finish it together. And that means Stormfur as well. More briskly, he added. Let's finish eating and get some sleep. We need all of our strength. Feathertail tried to obey him, forcing down the young hawk that the Tubi had left for her, though she felt sick with apprehension. She tried to focus her thoughts on how loyal her friends from the other clans were. It was hard to imagine that they would ever be able to separate back into their different clans. When they returned to the forest, how would she ever go back to her regular life without them? She curled into her sleeping hollow, tired enough to sleep, and sat up again. What was that? She turned her head to one side and listened. She could hear voices whispering, but there was no cats nearby. Except for the clan cats, and they were all asleep, twitching her ears. Feathertail froze. The voices were coming from the waterfall, almost hidden among the rushing, hissing water. She strained to make out what they were saying. The silver cat has come, they seemed to whisper. Sharptooth would be destroyed. No, Feathertail argued silently, instinctively. She didn't stop to figure out who she was talking to. You're wrong. Stormfur is not your cat. You must come with us. She waited for a reply, but the voices had vanished into the roar of the water, and Feathertail began to wonder if she had ever heard them at all. A long time passed. Moonlight crept across the floor of the cave and faded before exhaustion overcame her, and she finally fell into a troubled sleep. A paw roughly shaking her shoulder woke Feathertail, and she looked up into the stern face of Crag. It's time to go, he announced. Other guards were rousing her friends as she stumbled drowsily out of her sleeping hollow. She saw a stone teller standing at the entrance to the tunnel that led to the cave with pointed stones. 2 or more cave guards stood alertly beside him, and Feathertail thought she could make out more in the tunnel itself. The tribe cats were making sure that Stormfur was too heavily guarded for any sort of rescue attempt. We will take you to the edge of our territory and show you the best way through the rest of the mountains, Crag meowed. What about Stormfur? Brammerclaw asked, shaking a feather from his pelt. We can't go without him. The ThunderClan warrior's last attempt to free his friend peacefully was doomed to failure. Crag was shaking his head before he finished speaking. You can't take him with you, he meowed. His destiny is to stay here and save our tribe from Sharptooth. We will take care of him and honor him. So that makes it all right then, Crowpaw muttered disgustedly. The cave guards gathered around the clan cats and forced them towards the entrance. Feathertail noticed that Crowpaw was still limping from the blow he had taken from the cave guard the night before. Are you okay to travel? She murmured into his ear. I don't have much choice, have I? He meowed disagreeably, only to turn to her a moment later and touch his nose to her muzzle. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Just before they reached the waterfall, Feathertail heard her name and turned to see Brooke bounding toward her. I wanted to say farewell, she mewed as she came up. I'm sorry it turned out like this, but without your brother, Sharptooth would destroy the whole tribe. Feathertail gazed into the young prey hunter's eyes. She knew Brooke believed what she was saying, but she couldn't forget how Stormfur had thought that this cat was his friend. Stormfur didn't make friends easily. A legacy of being a half-clan. Always feeling as if he had more to prove than any other warriors. As if he could never fight hard enough or catch enough prey. Feathertail had watched the she-cat win her brother's trust, but now she had betrayed him, and would probably see him die in a battle with Sharptooth for the sake of her tribe. Come on. Crowpaw brushed his tail against Feathertail's flank, already damp from the spray of the waterfall. Feathertail turned away from Brooke without another word. As she padded along the narrow path, she strained to hear the voices in the thundering water. But today, she heard only the ceaseless pounding of foam. "Whoever you are," she vowed silently, "we will come back for my brother. He is ours, and his destiny lies far from here." The forest cats traveled through the mountains until almost sun-high. The cave guards kept pace with them on either side, their gaze fixed on the path ahead. They did not even stop to hunt, and the tense silence made every hair tingle on Feathertail's pelt. She tried to study every rock, every tree, every twist in the path, hoping that they would be able to follow their own scent trail back to the cave. The rocky slopes were more familiar to her now, but all the paths looked the same. In contrast, the cave guards seemed to know exactly where they were going, sometimes doubling back to avoid boulders or cliffs. Once Crag led them down a slope of sifting scree to a mountain stream. "Drink," he ordered, licking his tail at the tumbling water. Crowpaw's eyes narrowed as he gazed at the slippery rocks by the waterside, and Tawny Pelt exchanged a suspicious glance with her brother. "Not going to push you in," Crag mewed irritably. "You must learn to drink when you can in the mountains." Still wary, the forest cats crouched down and lapped the icy water. The air was crisp and cold, with the sun shining in a pale blue sky. Wind ruffled their fur, but there was no sign of rain to wash away the scent trail. To Feathertail's relief, Crowpaw's limp didn't seem to be bothering him, and grew less apparent as the young cat exercised his injured leg. Tawnypet was also managing well, although Feathertail saw her flinch once or twice. When she had to cope with a difficult leap, she did not complain. After a scramble over steep rocks, Crag brought them to a halt. "This is the edge of our territory," he announced, though there were no scent markers to indicate the border. "I must go alone from here." Leaf stabbed through Feathertail. She couldn't wait to get away from the cave guards and their stern, silent looks. "Head for the mountain," Crag went on, pointing with his tail at a sharp peak. Its upper slope streaked with the white of snow. The path winds round into greener land beyond. You should be safe from Sharptooth until night falls. Feathertail thought he put too much stress on Sharptooth, as if there were other dangers lurking among the rocks. Her suspicions hardened. She saw one of the other guards give him a warning glance. "Go on," Tribe Cat meowed roughly, giving her no chance to ask any questions, while there is still plenty of daylight. He dipped his head to Bramaclaw. "Farewell," he meowed. "I wish we could have met in a happier time. Our tribes have much to teach each other." "There's nothing I want to learn from you," Squirrelpaw muttered. And for once, Crowpaw looked as if he agreed with her. "I wish that too." Bramaclaw shot an icy glance at his companions to silence them. "But there cannot be friendship between us, or you keep our friend prisoner." Crag bowed his head again. He looked genuinely regretful. "That is our fate and his, as our warrior ancestors have promised, just as yours have made a promise to you." He called the rest of his patrol around him with a flick of his tail. and all the cave guards waited while Bramaclaw led the clan cats up the grassy slope. Soon the grass gave way to loose stones, leading upwards to a ridge of spiky rock. Bramaclaw paused at the top. Feathertail glanced back to see that Crag and the other cave guards were still watching them with unblinking stares. "They're making sure we leave," Tawny Pelt growled. "That means they'll probably be looking out just in case we come back." Crowpaw shrugged. "Their loss." He flexed his claws against the bare rock. "If we meet a patrol out here, they're crow food." Bramaclaw flashed a glance. "We'll do this without fighting if we can," he mewed. "Remember that we can't afford injuries this far from home." "Meanwhile," he added, "let's keep going and make them think we've given up." He led the way between the rocks. On the other side of the land, fell away sharply into a grass hollow. A spring of water bubbled out of a crevice and fell into a small pool. 2 or 3 bushes grew beside it. The wind brought Feathertail the scent of rabbits. "Can't we stop here?" Squirrelpaw pleaded. "Remember what they said about drinking when we can? We could hunt and rest until it's time to go back." Bramaclaw hesitated. "Okay, but we'd better keep a watch in case the cave guards come to check on us." "I'll take first watch," Tawny Pelt offered. "My short is fine," she added, "and I'll call you if there's any trouble." Very cautiously, stepping as lightly as if she were stalking a mouse, she slid back between the rocks and disappeared. Squirrelpaw was already bounding down into the hollow, calling out, "Come on, I'm starving." "She'll frighten every scrap of prey from here to Highstones," Crowpaw grumbled as Bramaclaw took off after her. Feathertail watched as Bramaclaw caught up to the younger cat, and the 2 of them went on together, their pelts brushing. They'd become very close during the journey, even if they didn't quite realize it yet. "Don't mind Squirrelpaw," she told Crowpaw. "Let's go and see if there are any fish in that pool. I could give you a lesson, just in case you want to catch any fish when we get home." She broke off and looked awkwardly down at the ground. "It'll be a useful thing to know, whatever happens." Crowpaw brightened. "Okay." He paused as if he wanted to say something more. Then, without a word, bounded down the slope after the 2 ThunderClan cats. Feathertail followed, her mind buzzing with her feelings for Crowpaw, as well as her fears for her brother. She approached the pool and gazed down into the blue depths. She and Crowpaw had plenty of time to figure out what they would do when they got back to the forest. She tried to push away the tiny, persistent voice that kept telling her that cats from different clans couldn't be together without causing a whole heap of trouble. She shook her head impatiently. Right now, the only thing of anything that any of them should be thinking about was finding prey to give them strength for Stormfur's rescue. A silver flash caught her eye, and her paw shot out, claws extended, to hook a fish. "Come over here," she instructed Crowpaw, "so your shadow doesn't fall on the water, and when you see a fish, be quick." Crowpaw came to join her, picking his way with a grimace around the muddy edge of the pool. He settled down at her side, but instead of peering into the water, he looked into her eyes. "I know I shouldn't ask this, but will you still see me when we get home?" He glanced down at his paws and added, I want to be loyal to my clan, but there's never been another cat like you, Feathertail. Feathertail's pelt tingled with happiness and excitement. She touched his muzzle with her nose, sensing the uncertainty that made it hard for him to believe that she could like him enough to cross clan boundaries for him. I know how you feel. We'll have to wait and see. It might not be so bad with everything that's happening in the forest. The clans have to come together. To her surprise, Crowpaw shook his head. I don't see how there always been 4 clans. Well, maybe always is going to change. She meowed quietly. Now, what about that fish? Crowpaw brushed her shoulder with his tail and crouched down over the water. A few heartbeats later, his paw shot out. The fish curved up out of the water and fell wriggling to the ground. Crowpaw grabbed it in his jaws before it could slide back into the pool. Feathertail jumped up and pushed her nose against his shoulder. Well done! We'll make a River Clan cat out of you yet. She broke off, confused, and Crowpaw blinked in understanding. His eyes were shining. Feathertail wished their companions could see this side of him. Eager and enthusiastic, instead of defensive. Difficult to face, he chose to show to them. She was distracted by a movement at the top of the rocks, and looked up to see Tawnypelt crouched on a smooth stone. The cave guards have gone, the Shadow Clan warrior called down to them, but I'll stay on watch. Not long after, Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw returned from their hunting expedition with a couple of rabbits and a few mice. Along with Feathertail and Crowpaw's fish, there was enough fresh kill for all of them. They each took a turn on watch, but there's no sign of any tribe cats. They spent the rest of the day in the shelter of the bushes. Feathertail felt more at home out here in the silent open air than in the stuffy, noise-filled cave. Clouds gathered in the sky, gray and ominous, covering the sun. The wind dropped. The air became heavy and damp, as if there was a storm coming. At last, the daylight faded and shadows began to thicken in the hollow. Brambleclaw rose to his paws. It's time, he meowed. He took a few paw steps back up the slope, as others followed. Feathertail suddenly noticed how easily they could be seen against the rocks, especially Squirrelpaw's dark ginger pelt and her own light gray fur. This is never going to work. They're bound to spot us coming, she mewed anxiously. Wait, Squirrelpaw narrowed her eyes. Why don't we roll ourselves in mud? Then we'd look like the tribe cats, especially in the dark. It would help hide our scent, too. Tawnypelt gave her a look full of respect. That has to be the best idea I've heard for a moon. Squirrelpaw's green eyes glowed, and she hurried back to the pool and began nosing around the edge. There's plenty of mud here, she called, beginning to roll in a sticky patch of plaster. Crowpaw's whiskers twitched in disgust as he and the others followed. Just the sort of idea she would dream up. Clever, though, he admitted grudgingly. Feathertail winced as she padded to the edge of the pool and felt mud ooze around her paws. Cold seeped into her skin as she lay down in the glutinous hollow, thinking at least her thick RiverClan pelt was suited to getting wet. Crowpaw would be much more uncomfortable with his thin, wind-flattened fur. Although for once, he didn't complain. She blinked fondly at him, remembering what he'd said earlier about wanting to see her when they got home. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Right now, she didn't want to ever let him out of her sight. Their pelts streaked, spiky with mud. The clan cats climbed back to the ridge and down the slope on the other side, warily crossing back into the tribe's territory. Feathertail pricked her ears, alert for the sound of other cats, and they all stopped every few paces to sniff the air. Even with Squirrelpaw's disguise, there was a huge risk that they would be spotted. And no cat was sure how far the tribe cats would go to keep Stormfur. Feathertail knew how desperate they were that their ancestors' prophecy should come true. She and her friends could all be returning to their deaths. Grabberclaw's nose was almost touching the path as he sniffed out their scent trail from that morning. Feathertail tried hard to remember the landmarks they had passed, but everything looked different in the gathering darkness. They were padding down a steep path between broken rocks when Crowpaw suddenly halted. His muzzle raised and his jaws parted, and he whirled on Feathertail and pushed her behind a rock, signaling wildly with his tail for the other cats to hide too. A heartbeat later, Feathertail caught the same scent. Tribe cats. Peering out cautiously, she saw a patrol of lithe prey hunters, bounding along the path in the same direction. Their jaws filled with prey, the escort of cave guards around them. She tensed, waiting for them to pick up the intruder scent and turn to attack. But they passed her hiding place without a pause and disappeared into the darkness. Squirrelpaw's mud must have masked their scent as they hoped. "That's twice I saved you," Crowpaw teased, stepping away to let Feathertail stand up straight. She touched noses with him with a purr of amusement. "I know. I won't forget it, don't worry." Grandmaclaw emerged from among the rocks at the other side of the path, signaling to the others to move on. This time, Tawnypelt brought up the rear, keeping a lookout behind in case more prey hunters were on their way home. The moon was just rising over the topmost peaks, a fuzzy white glow behind the covering of clouds. When they came to the river, still alert for the sound of the other tribe cats, they followed the rushing water until they heard the roar of the waterfall in the distance. "Quiet now," Grandmaclaw whispered. "We're getting close." Silently, they padded on till they reached the top of the falls. Feathertail crouched at the edge of the river, watching the dark water slide over the lip of the rock. Then, a flash of lightning split the sky overhead. And above the thunder of the water, she heard a rumbling in the sky. "Storm's coming," Crowpaw breathed into her ear. A fat drop of rain landed on Feathertail's head, and she shook it off. The noise and confusion of the storm might help them, but then she wondered if it would drive more cats than usual into the cave. Stormfur was heavily guarded already. They couldn't hope to take on the whole tribe. "Let's go," Squirrelpaw muttered impatiently. Lightning flashed, and another roll of thunder crashed overhead as the cats peered down. Feathertail could just make out the foaming white of the water as it fell into the pool. Then she thought she saw a movement in the darkness at the end of the path. "What's that?" Crowpaw had seen it too. As if in answer, another claw of lightning crackled across the sky. Feathertail heard Tawnypelt gasp in horror. For a single heartbeat that seemed to last forever, the white flash lit up the shape of a huge, tawny-colored cat, slinking along the path. It paused as the thunder pounded the sky, then padded on to disappear behind the waterfall. Sharptooth. That was the end of chapter 14. We have one more chapter until the end of the stream. Chapter 15. A terrible shrieking broke out in the cave, slicing through the sound of rain pattering around them, and even the noise of the falls. Feathertail sprang to her paws. Every hair on her pelt told her to flee as far from the cave as she could. Only the thought of danger that Stormfur was in made her stay where she was. Come on! Ramaclaw's voice was tense. The rest of the cats stared at him in disbelief. Down there? Crowpaw demanded. Are you mass-brained? Think! Ramaclaw was already bounding towards the cave entrance. He paused and swung around to face the apprentice. With Sharptooth in the cave, no cat will notice us. This might be our only chance to get Stormfur out. Without waiting to see if the others were following, he leaped down the rocks towards the path. I still think he's crazy, muttered Crowpaw, but he followed all the same. Feathertail scrambled down after them, her paws sliding on the wet rocks, her claws scraping painfully as she tried to keep her balance. She ran along the ledge behind the falls with barely enough time to be afraid of slipping and falling into the turbulent pool below. The screeching grew louder. Terror surged through Feathertail as she imagined what they would find inside the cave. Sharptooth might be sinking his fangs into Stormfur's neck at this very moment, clawing her brother's pelt and turning him into fresh kill. She skidded into the cave and halted just behind Ramaclaw. For a moment, she could hardly make sense of what she was seeing. With the moon covered by clouds, the cave was almost dark. The huge shape of Sharptooth seemed to be everywhere at once. Massive paws pounding on the floor as she sprang from wall to wall. Blood spattered against his flanks and saliva dripping from his jaws. This was more terrible than Feathertail had ever imagined. There was no way Stormfur could challenge this beast and survive. Tribe cats scattered, scrambling blindly out of their sleeping hollows. Feathertail caught a glimpse of Brooke, hustling a kit down the tunnel that led to the nursery, with another dangling from her jaws. Near the other tunnel, a cave guard was clinging to the huge lion cat's neck, only to be thrown off and flung against the wall with a sickening thud. The cave guard slid to the floor and lay still, a trickle of blood running from its mouth. While Feathertail stared in horror, 2 or 3 cats fled past her with shrill cries. Blundering against the clan cats without realizing who they were. This way, Ramaclaw ordered. He looked at each clan cat in turn, his gaze resting longest on Squirrelpaw. We have to do this for Stormfur, he reminded them. Sharptooth had pounded across to leap up the far wall of the cave, trying to reach a tribe cat who cowered on a ledge just above the vicious claws, skirting the cave walls, clinging to the darkest corners. Ramaclaw headed for the tunnel leading to the cave of pointed stones. Feathertail and the others followed. In the blackness, they stumbled against tribe cats, some wounded, others frozen in fear. But the terror and blood scent filling the cave were so strong that no cat recognized them. At the tunnel entrance, 2 cave guards still held their positions, their fur standing on end and their eyes stretched wide. Feathertail felt a flash of respect for their courage to stay where they were and all their tribe mates were running for their lives. Now! Bramaclaw and Crowpaw launched themselves at the cave guards, claws slashing and baring their teeth. Squirrelpaw was the only heartbeat behind them. Feathertail heard an exclamation of astonishment from one of the guards and recognized Crag's voice. She saw Bramaclaw bowl him over and fasten his teeth in the cave guard's neck, while Crowpaw cuffed the other guard on both ears, drawing him away from the tunnel entrance. Squirrelpaw sank her teeth into Crag's tail and held on. With the entrance clear, Feathertail and Tawnypelt darted down the tunnel. Before they reached the cave of pointed stones, met two other cats, barely visible in the darkness. With a surge of relief and joy, Feathertail recognized Stormfur's scent. The other cat was Stoneteller. She glimpsed his blazing eyes as he pelted past her and launched himself into the outer cave. Quick! The tribe leader yelled at Stormfur. Your time has come! Oh, tribe of the endless hunting, help us now! Feathertail! Stormfur exclaimed. What's happening? For a moment, Feathertail was content just to drink in his scent and twine her tail with his. She had been afraid they'd find the cave of pointed stones empty, that Stormfur would have already been sent out to do battle with the lion cat, and that his body had been one of those bleeding in the corners of the cave. There's no time for that, Tawnypelt snapped. Head for the entrance, don't stop for anything. She dashed back down the tunnel, and Feathertail and Stormfur followed. As they reached the outer cave, a shriek ripped through the darkness. Louder than thunder, a flash of lightning revealed Sharptooth backing towards the entrance. His jaws were clamped around a tribe cat. With a shudder of pure horror, Feathertail recognized Star, the kit mother who had spoken to them when they first arrived. Her mouth was open in a desperate, wordless yowl, and her claws scoured the earth floor as she fought vainly to free herself. Then all was dark again. Feathertail saw the faint outline of the lion cat against the sheet of water as it whipped around and vanished through the entrance. For a heartbeat, a shocked silence filled the cave. Then a shrill wail of loss rose all around. Feathertail felt a cat nudge her roughly and spun around to see Bramaclaw. Help now, he rasped. He bounded toward the entrance with Squirrelpaw, and Tawnypelt hard on his paws. Crowpaw thrust Feathertail after him, though she did not move until she was sure Stormfur was following too. No cat tried to stop them. All the tribe was still gripped by terror. Crouched low on the cave floor, were gazing after Sharptooth, with bristling fur and their eyes glazed with fear. At the entrance, Bramaclaw paused, sniffed the air, and then led the way along the path. Feathertail detected Sharptooth's scent, mingled with Star's fear scent, and the reek of blood, but they were fading. The predator had gone, carrying his prey with him, leaving many more cats dead or wounded. Sheets of rain were falling steadily, gusted by the wind, and thunder rumbled out again overhead. Feathertail was soaked within a couple of heartbeats. Her fur plastered to her body, but she scarcely noticed. She followed Bramaclaw up the rocks as he led the clan cats back the way they had come. Behind them, the tribe's broken wailing died away, drowned in the pattering rain and the endless, unchanging roar of the waterfall. That was the end of chapter 15. Well, that's a good cliffhanger to leave on, huh? Jeez. drags one of the kit mothers. Oof, that's rough. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the chapter reading anyway. And thank you guys from the raid for coming in, and anyone else that has shown up since then, along with my usual chatters and followers. And, well, if anyone has suggestions for me to raid out to, I will welcome it. I will look at my follow list and see if I have anyone. I mean, I have Elion on my follow list right now, but he's like super energetic. I don't know if you guys want that or not. Other than that, I don't really have anyone else that's online right now. I guess we could raid out to him if there's no suggestions. I don't really have a raid message either, so what I usually do if I end up raiding out to him is that I just tell everyone to ask him for the nipple lasers, because that's his usual shtick. Anyway, thank you guys for coming by, and I really hope you guys had fun. I will be streaming another 5 chapters next Monday, of course. I stream every Monday. I used to stream on Fridays, but then stuff just kept happening on Fridays. And I have a meeting like every Monday, so it kind of forces me to be able to stream every Monday. But, unless I'm sick, and then I have to actually take time off and rest myself. But usually if I'm sick at the point where, like, I can still use my voice, I try to do, like, these little miniature Lego sets instead. And then we do a hand cam stream, which is fun, because then I get to make you guys listen to me gripe about how terrible the pieces are made. Because they're like little itty bitty tiny pieces that like you could barely even hold, and I have to like use tweezers. Well, anyway, thank you guys for coming by. If you are interested, I do have a Discord. They are super crazy and chaotic though, so chaos vibes if you join. I will go ahead and see you guys later. If you want to stay for the raid, be my guest. See you. Bye bye.